Let's start the show.
It's May 29th, 2014. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Norm, it's a quiet show today, just the two of us.
There's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about.
We didn't have a podcast last week.
No.
You podcasted with Gina.
No. Gary's writing fucking Star Wars.
That's number one on the list.
Yes, that is the right thing to put number one. Gina and I talked about it a little bit last week.
Oh, my God.
But, oh, my God.
So, for you guys watching on YouTube who might not have listened to our podcast or might not have known who we were before we started working with Jamie and Adam, we used to have a third seat right here. There used to be three people on this podcast.
Fairly regular, most of the time.
For at least 100 episodes.
For a while, there were four. For a good 50 or 75, Anna was here, too.
70, not
She was here. She was here for like the full first year and a half.
Special occasion.
Okay.
But a regular third seat.
Yeah.
The person who would be sitting here, if you go back maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and regularly was on our podcast, that British dude is writing the new Star Wars movie.
So when I was a kid and was watching Star Wars, and the idea that one day I would even meet someone who is tangentially involved with Star Wars.
Well, we've done that with Adam.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
Fawn.
These
movies employ 15,000 people.
I understand that they are big productions. I'm just saying, we met Phil Tippett. We like. But the fact that we would have spent, I mean, we've spent at this point with Gary on record hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours. Most of it on camera, a lot of it on camera.
The off-camera stuff is the better part.
Well, yeah, the off-camera stuff is all the stuff we can't talk about on camera.
That informs us more about the Star Wars movie. Oh, man, this movie's going to be about...
Oh, he's been real tight.
This movie's going to be... I mean, if it's any reflection of Gary's character, I'm just saying it's...
Yeah, it's going to be dark.
Very, very dark movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... That Jedi, the Jedi kid
it was picked
training,
up. Jedi Training Academy,
yes.
The animated YouTube video. That's one of our listeners
Rallier
out there.
did it.
Rallier did it.
Yeah.
That video was shared around on both blogs. Fuck for life is.
Fuck for life.
I apologize for the language, but that is the catchphrase that did come out. We prophesized this in Gary's T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. The Darth Widow T-shirt.
That T-shirt, if you own it.
Dude,
could technically be counted as official Star Wars merchandise now.
Do you have one of those? I got one of the ones that's broken. That's the bad print.
One of those.
But I never got a good print.
We made a T-shirt for Gary.
A blockhead.
Where he's a blockhead. He's holding an iPhone, I believe, and he says his catchphrase. We don't know Gary's catchphrase is "Shoot that guy."
Yep.
I imagine there will be people shooting other people in the new Star Wars movie.
I hope.
And he has the Vader shadow.
My hope is that in that movie, is in the movie.
T-shirt.
My hope. Well, Cal did the
I conceptualized that T-shirt.
Conceptualized that T-shirt. My hope is that in that movie, at some point, somebody looks at somebody else and says, "Shoot that guy."
Maybe a Jar Jar.
That would be amazing.
What's
your dream scenario for this movie?
We know nothing.
He has been unbelievable. Like, usually Gary is tight about what he's working on when he can't talk about it yet. But on this,
I knew the entire plot of After Earth and everything.
Yeah.
Before, but I know nothing about this.
Way to burn Gary. We're gonna have to bleep that out.
I did not know.
We guessed it.
Anything.
We did guess it.
No.
So on this one, he said absolutely nothing. So anything we're saying at this point is pure speculation.
It's best that he's not here.
Yes.
He's not on record.
We're never going to see him again. He's big time now.
Wow. That's real sad.
I had breakfast with him on Sunday or Saturday.
Real sad.
I think that it's about the Gungan genocide.
Nope.
No? You don't think so? It's the Jar Jar Binks story?
I think it's about Boba Fett.
I mean, Boba Fett's the obvious one. Chewbacca also is an interesting piece. Is it a prequel?
Not as many action figures that you can sell with Chewbacca as you could with a whole family, a whole cast of Mandalorians.
You think it's Boba Fett, or you think it's just Jango Fett's family?
I think it's Mandalorians. With Boba. The return of Boba. 30 years later. Maybe he's another clone.
What if they go a completely different direction with it, and it's like a think piece where Yoda is just set on Dagobah. It's like a a martial arts movie where the master just goes to the mountain and sits and thinks for hundreds of hours.
Well, then they wouldn't have chosen the director whose previous movies were Monsters and Godzilla. And if you look at the director, it's Gareth Edwards, who did an admirable job with Godzilla. We still haven't talked about that with Adam on that podcast yet. And I'm not going to spoil the movie because that's still fresh in theaters. But it's a good Godzilla movie, and his previous movie before that was called Monsters, which is also a large-scale monster movie. Relatively low budget. Monsters were portrayed like they were in The Mist, the Frank Darabont Stephen King story.
You kind of couldn't see them?
You kind of see them through the fog a little bit from the human perspective, and more of a human tale. Characters were maybe not so likable. So maybe it'll be about that space worm that tries to eat the Millennium Falcon in Empire Strikes Back. Maybe that's the monster.
The Minox story? The complete story of the Minox?
Or the Rancor.
Yeah, I mean, the story of the Rancor.
It could be about the Rancor Wrangler.
It's true. I mean, the Rancor Wrangler was super sad.
He was super sad.
Like, he raised that Rancor from a little puppy Rancor.
That was the weirdest scene in Return of the Jedi.
It's still pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, and he has an action figure.
It could be about the Bith Band from Tatooine. Here's the thing. Given Gary's chops, I got to think it's not a prequel story. Like, it's not characters introduced in the prequels.
Lucasfilm hasn't said, but they did say they were going to make spin-off movies, one-off stories, to tell backstories of other characters or to flesh out other parts of the Star Wars universe. They didn't say whether it would be in continuity or in the current timeline as the new trilogy. I would think that would be the smart thing to do.
Well, except they're not going to risk a movie on an unestablished character.
Obviously, yes. So it will be bringing back the elements. It will be the fan service movies.
It could be Lando.
I think it's a perfect opportunity to use Lando. Lando and Boba Fett have beef. Boba Fett fucked up Cloud City.
That's true. And maybe it's Lando's kid. Maybe it's Lando and his kid going on an adventure.
Donald Glover needs a job.
Yeah.
Community's gone. Well, I guess he was no longer in Community.
Who else?
I'm calling it right now.
You think Donald Glover as young Lando?
No. I think it's Donald Glover as the successor to Lando.
Oh, Lando Calrissian
Lando
Jr.
Huh. In a movie about bounty hunters, Mandalorians.
Yeah, I like
and anti-heroes.
If you're looking at
with hunting space monsters, so the bounty hunters, the Mandalorians, will be hunting giant space monsters,
Rancor space monsters,
and space worms and stuff, which will use the talents of Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
And there will be a familial story behind it.
Which is a thing that Gary kind of has, even with Eli, had a history with telling familial stories.
Well, in terms of relationships between mentor and protege.
I mean, I think if you look at the characters that are left from the initial, that survived through the initial trilogy, the first 4, 5, and 6, like the bounty hunters are the most interesting, like, backstory left.
Wedge is not in a new movie.
Wedge is a character that people who love the extended universe love, and most people don't know about Wedge.
He was through both Death Star battles.
Yeah, and the Battle of Hoth. He's the only person who survived all 3.
And he is not in a new movie.
Well, he's like 75 years old.
I'm saying that whereas the J.J. Abrams movies will have some aspect of fan service, but I think it's best for him not to anchor his movie in fan service. I think that these movies, the one-off movies, can be more fan servicey.
I mean, my assumption with all of these is that the first wave of new movies is to establish a new generation of characters, so that people buy kids buy action figures.
Yeah, my assumption with these movies is that Disney wants to make a fuck ton of money.
Right. I mean, but if you look at what they did, well, J.J. Abrams is as far as I'm aware, maybe with Joss Whedon. Nice job, Norm. Ed 209 is ruining this, killed this podcast.
I put him under the table.
He's the master of fan service without ruining something, giving it fan service. Like, if you look at that first Star Trek, it is rich with fan service, but somebody who's never watched those TV shows is going to watch that and just think this movie was fucking awesome. I mean, my wife had never seen an original Star Trek episode, I don't think, and she was super into the new Star Trek. She was like, I wish this was a TV show that I could watch every week.
It'd be very expensive.
It would be very expensive. So yeah, congrats to Gary. We'll get him on. He's basically from talking to him, he is sequestered in
under a giant pile of NEAs.
Yeah, exactly. And even if he had time to come and talk to us, which I don't think he does, I think he might be afraid to. Just given the
maybe a
level of
Skype
scrutiny.
call, maybe a pre-recorded message.
Yeah.
Maybe he can do a pre-recorded message
Or
from
alternately,
Gary Whitta.
Alternately, what you guys can do in the audience is there's thousands of hours of Gary talking on this podcast. You can probably stitch together him saying something. So,
I bet if you listen to everything Gary has said in the past 200 episodes of this podcast, 250 episodes, you would find the plot of the next Star Wars movie somewhere.
Exactly. Yoda. It's a slash fiction with Yoda and Chewbacca. So congratulations, Gary.
And raccoons.
Oh yeah, the raccoons. Yeah. We MakerFaire. Gene and I talked a little bit about MakerFaire, but we skipped some of the stuff that we hadn't posted yet, and just kind of talked about what it was. MakerFaire is great. I thought this was a really good MakerFaire too. They opened up. They like my favorite part of the San Francisco MakerFaire is that big room. Like the outside stuff is always neat, but there's a big room and it's just packed with people that have made cool stuff. Like
the exhibit hall.
The exhibit hall, yeah. But they opened it up some this year, so it wasn't like you could walk through it this year, which you couldn't do in years past. It was getting
they opened it up
too tight. The aisles are bigger.
Okay.
Now. Which means there's a little bit fewer things there, but they put some of the. I don't know if you walked over to the crafts tent in the corner where we did the Chevy Volt test drive ever, but there was a ton of good stuff back there too. We didn't shoot anything back there, unfortunately, but it was a good MakerFaire, I thought.
It's a pretty good MakerFaire.
What was your favorite thing you saw?
Ed 209.
Sean Thorson's Ed 209 was pretty good.
No, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it looked like a scaled up action figure.
I mean, that's what he did. He created a 1-to-1 scale replica of Ed 209. If you haven't seen this, we have a video of it. And he, in collaboration with Make Magazine, documented the build process. Which you find out that he based his designs off of this toy that I have in front of me.
Really?
This is the NECA Ed 209 toy, which they sell for like $70.
Yeah, he could have just gone to Tippett's studio over in the East Bay and taken a picture.
I asked him, and he said he didn't know anyone at Tippett, so he couldn't get access. So he was resourceful and used the references he could. There are a lot of references, a lot of Ed 209 fan sites, and people making their own, sculpting their own miniatures. And the problem solving that he did to scale up the differences between the toy, the stop motion maquette, and also the full size, because there were several Ed 209s made from the movie, was the most interesting stuff. He used a combination of your standard, sculpting in foam and plywood, and then molding it, casting it in fiberglass, did some painting there, welded a steel frame for it. Added some motors, and then also 3D printed some parts. So it was a mixed media piece.
It is menacing in person, is what I would say. I thought it looked really good. It turned out really good.
Yeah, those sculptures.
He got the color right too. I think that color, the color on the toy is a little too blue.
This is too blue.
Yeah,
far too blue.
Yeah. A lot of feedback on the skateboard, on the one-wheel skateboard.
People love the one-wheel skateboard. Really interesting. I don't think we did a good enough job of explaining the experience of riding that skateboard.
So you've done no board sport stuff before, right? Skateboard, snowboard, wakeboard,
I've been snowboarding
surfing.
once.
Okay.
This is much more like a snowboard than it is a skateboard.
Yeah, and it feels.
So the idea, if you haven't seen the video, is there was a Kickstarter for this project called One Wheel, and it is a one-wheel skateboard where the wheel is a big go-kart wheel that sits anchored in the middle, and not on it. It's through there's a hole in the board where the wheel goes through.
Right. So the board straddles the wheel, and you put your feet on either side of the board where the trucks would be on a skateboard. It felt kind of like a longboard, and
it wasn't that big, and there are motors. And a gyro.
I think it's just one motor.
Motor, a gearing system, and a gyro built in on this $1,500 product. And the idea is that when you stand on it, it will, it won't keep you stable, but
no, it will. So it tries to self-level. It tries to keep the board level, and when you shift your weight up and down, the thing that's tricky about it is, and it took me a while to figure it out, is you have to kind of lock your legs. You don't lock your knees, obviously, but you don't want to. Like if you're riding on a wakeboard or a snowboard, you kind of keep your knees a little bouncy.
It does.
And with this, you had real wobbling problems because it kept trying to level against your knees.
It keeps you level on one axis only, the left and right axes. So if you tilt
or front
forward,
back.
Front back. So if you tilt, but as you're standing on this board, if you imagine you're standing on, like, for example, a skateboard, and you lean forward or backward, you will fall in those directions because it does not stabilize.
The board will shoot out from under you
in that rotational axis. It only stabilizes from left to right when you're moving, when you're standing horizontally on the board. And if you shift your weight forward in either of those directions, then it will propel you without having to put your foot on the ground. The guy who we talked to and demoed it, he seemed very, very comfortable with it.
Like after a minute or two of riding, I was pretty comfortable. Like I felt like it was the kind of thing that if you went down and if you like got in your cul-de-sac and were riding around for 45 minutes, you would be able to ride it without risk of wiping out.
I would not ride that anywhere in San Francisco. This city is completely the wrong place for that product.
Because of all the hills?
Because of the hills and the narrow sidewalks and the density of cars and pedestrians.
Yeah.
This is a cul-de-sac suburb device.
No, I'm just saying I would go into the cul-de-sac to learn.
I'm saying, but this is something that's perfect for wide streets, wide sidewalks.
It seems like the kind of thing if you have a boardwalk, like if you live in Venice and want to commute to Santa Monica, this seems like a way you could do it.
Or you could bicycle.
Or you could ride a bicycle. The downside is that it is crazy expensive. Like $1,500.
And fairly heavy. It's not like a skateboard where you can just put underneath your arm.
It wasn't that. I mean,
I would not want to carry this underneath the arm.
Well, I think you ride it and then you carry it up the stairs when you get to your office.
No, that's the thing. I don't think you would comfortably carry this upstairs.
I didn't think it was that
It's
heavy.
the weight of a
like,
bicycle.
It was like 35 pounds.
It's a little more than that.
Oh.
That's still heavy. But
Anyway,
it's expensive. $1,500.
It was expensive. If it's $300, I like. Gina was like, if that was $300, I would buy it right now.
Yeah,
to go to the grocery store.
If things that were normally $1,500 or $300, I would also buy them right now.
Right. Well, if they manufacture a bunch and they scale up, who knows?
But a lot of people did point out the feeling of this kind of gave you that feeling of what the hoverboard would feel like from Back to the Future.
Yeah, and if you
not necessarily being gravity defying, you do have a sense of weightlessness.
Well, it's the same as snowboarding.
As because of the relative stabilization. So when you stop, you just lean backward or stand up straight, and you're just kind of standing in place.
Right. This feels, you lean on this like you do with a snowboard, and then you rock from heel to toe to steer. So you end up, but you don't have to rear back like you would on a wakeboard when you're pulling against a boat.
I don't think the turning radius is very good on that thing.
I think the turning radius is as good as you are. He was doing tighter turns.
He was rocking.
But he was going
pretty
fast
hard.
The turning radius is going to be a function of the speed that you're going. So if you're going slower, you can turn faster.
I don't know if you could probably cut a street corner without
I'm sure you could.
On the sidewalk?
Yeah.
I don't know about the sidewalk. On the actual road, maybe. On the sidewalk, difficult to tell.
Well, because the thing is, you can kick it like you do like a skateboard too. He wasn't doing that because there were people around, and he would have killed someone. But it seems like it's a gentle carving thing. I'll tell you what. I'd be much more likely to ride that in San Francisco, where you have to go down hills, than I would a skateboard on the street. Like I see people riding skateboards down the street, and they're fucking lunatics.
Downhills on a skateboard, you have zero control.
Yeah.
This, I guess.
Well, no, you have some.
I mean, you have.
I have zero control.
Yeah, I have zero control, and braking is jumping off the skateboard and kicking it up and catching it.
Yeah.
This, I guess, has a motor that can
it
slow
works
you
as
down.
a brake. Yeah.
Also. No regenerative braking.
Yeah, didn't do regenerative braking. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. We also walked around with big heads because our heads clearly are not big enough
that
already.
Was a joke I made in the video.
Yep. Everyone that we saw made it too. Adam even made it. So Norm, this was all you. This was your dumb idea that turned out wonderfully, I thought. What did you? Were you looking at Pepakura projects and just thought, oh, hey, I would like to do this?
There was an artist in 2009 who actually did a very similar thing using Pepakura. I'm gonna look up his name right now, and so shared around the web.
Well, it's like a New Orleans thing too, right? Like people in the big parades in New Orleans wear fiberglass. They're not their heads.
I'm saying
they wear like fiberglass
the idea
heads.
of it being a polygonal head.
Oh, okay.
Eric Tesrote I think his name. And there's a great photo of him, and with he made this head and went on a photo shoot. Had people take photos of him around town. It looks beautiful. And he modeled it by hand. So he used a 3D modeling program and just recreated his head by hand.
Oh man, his looks much better than ours.
Well, it's because there were lessons learned.
Yeah.
But then imported his in MakerFaire and printed them out and put it up. But that idea of being a big head mode, walking around, looking was a great idea.
His scale is just is slightly different too. Like his scale isn't quite as big as ours were.
I went big.
No, yeah, no, I know.
And we knew Brandon Blizzard, who was one of the inventor and finalists, who had done some photogrammetry work for us before. And so in chatting with him, we came with this idea of doing some photogrammetry to model our heads as opposed to 3D scanning, because you get to teach people photogrammetry, which is neat. And we've used that to do some 3D printing. I have on my desk 3D printed of my own head, because you can just scan your head basically and
then 3D print it,
scale it. And
why is that not up on
finish it.
Thingiverse? You should put your STL up on Thingiverse.
Sure.
Norman Chan.
Do that. And then you can actually put your head on like different bodies and stuff like that. It's what that 3D. I think 3D Systems has that photo booth that we saw at CES.
They have the photo booth. Autodesk does 123D Catch or 123 Catch. There's a bunch of photogrammetry programs. Brandon used something that's a little higher end, I think.
He used PhotoScan. Aggie saw PhotoScan. 123D Catch is the free one, and there are some restrictions on what you can export and who owns what in terms of Autodesk. One, keep you in their ecosystem. PhotoScan is a professional program, but the results really are much better. You have a lot more degree of control over the modeling. So the idea is you sit and we had it in front of a green screen, and we have a guide on the site telling you how to take photogrammetry pictures, and what works well with photogrammetry. For example, hair, and where you want big hair, small hair, wear a hat. Hats are actually not very good since they
cast shadows, right?
Cast shadows, and the bill protrudes.
But putting a skull cap or something on to help, and then modeling the hair separately is a valid. If you have poofy hair or something, it's not a bad solution.
And then taking a ton of photos with even lighting from all angles, importing that, and then what you basically have to do in PhotoScan is create a digital room where you tell the program where the camera was and where the photos were taken relative to your face.
Like how far away they are?
How far you actually place a virtual photo camera in the 3D space and say, okay, this picture was taken from this perspective, from this angle, and then that's what this picture represents, and then it'll calculate all of that. And sometimes with photogrammetry, you get some of the room also. Get the room, your background gets modeled with you. And so you kind of filter that out. You can do some masking in Photoshop to stencil out your face. And all that gets put together, and you get this textured 3D model, which is really cool.
Okay. And then from there, Brandon imported that into 3D Studio Max and reduced Maya. Okay.
And then basically had to remodel the entire head, because the model that you get from PhotoScan is really high polygon, and they're regular polygons. And so what he did was in Maya, or you can use Blender, just rebuild your head and using the PhotoScan model as a guide. And if you have to have some 3D model experience to do this. Like, it's not as simple as SketchUp, but with a little bit of practice, it's not that difficult to draw out the polygons to basically 3D trace your head. And as you can tell with this guy, Eric, the 2009 project, he used triangles for his...
I think the triangles look really good, actually.
Using triangles is a real smart thing to do, as opposed to using four-sided polygons.
Did he do something to the texture to make it look more like video gamey?
No, it's the same thing.
It's
lighting. It's the lighting for the photographs.
Okay.
And then import that in PaperCura. And then in PaperCura, you can do some tweaking. So how the tabs connect, what the pieces are pieced out, and then print it out. And after that, it was dozens of hours of cutting and gluing.
One of the comments I saw said to use a hot glue gun, which makes a ton of sense.
Hot glue gun, yes, but just like super glue, because it sets quick, you don't have as fine control over the tabs.
Get it right the first time, right?
Or it spills over, and if any glue spills over to the front, then it sticks to your fingers, and you peel off the texture because it sticks to the front.
Oh, right.
And so the application with a paintbrush and light paper glue was much easier.
Did you get super glue fixer so it would glue faster?
Yeah, super glue is with paper.
Is really
Bonds
fast.
instantly.
Okay. So yeah, we walked around the videos on the site. You can watch. It's pretty funny. They're real dumb. You also talked to 3D Robotics, and that video's on the site now too. If people don't know, 3D Robotics is Chris Anderson, formerly of Wired's company, and it's an open hardware company, right? So they sell drones that are pre-assembled, or quad rotors that are pre-assembled that you can buy and fly out of the box, basically. But then they also sell a lot of components, and I think a lot of their
I'm not exactly sure they're open.
I thought this was
Maybe the designs might be for their chips are definitely proprietary. So they sell the speed controller and the flight controller, and that's their primary product.
right.
The flight controller, no way is that open. I might be wrong, but maybe they just manufacture it, and they have manufacturing facilities down in San Diego and in Mexico. But they make what some of the hobbyists tell us are some of the best flight controller software or hardware. And this is a board that's basically the brain, the motherboard of your drone. So in talking to 3D Robotics, we kind of figured out what kind of components you would need to build your own quadcopter.
Because the point is, you can buy their stuff off the shelf, build a frame, put some motors on,
and the frame can be really simple.
Yeah, I mean it can be like a Rector set style tubing almost, right?
And you just get some motors and props, and what the controller does is all the electronics then attached to that: the compass, GPS, your RC transmitter, the receiver, and your speed controller.
So it's open source. Whether that means the hardware designs are open source or just the software is all open source, I don't know. But they explicitly say, hey, it's open source. We're an open source company.
But they have a self-contained product called the Iris, which is $750. But it's not something that you buy to fly around like you do the DJI Phantom. It's something you buy around and you program with their app.
Oh, so you just say take off, fly 500 meters in this direction, fly 300 meters in this direction, go up 50 meters.
It's all satellite GPS based.
Okay.
So you get a satellite overview of your area, and what you can do literally is use your finger on an iPad or a phone and draw a circle with your finger. Just draw a circle, not even like tap waypoints, and from the circle they extrapolate what they think the waypoints would be, and then using vectors you just drag out your waypoints.
So can you fly it manually if you want?
You can. You can also buy a transmitter and receiver.
Okay.
And plug it in.
And just like a normal standard transmitter receiver. And that plugs into their controller as well?
Yep.
Huh. That's really interesting. So are the like the Pixhawk and the APM, those are the things we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So the Pixhawk, is that something that you then like it's standard components, so you buy a GPS module and you buy a blah blah blah, or is that stuff all built in already? It looks like you have to add it, right?
It's all modular.
And they sell the whole
everything.
thing. Yeah. So it's kind of like Adafruit, but for quads and stuff like that. They also had their plane. It's a fixed wing drone called the Arrow. Did you talk about that at all?
No.
Yeah. I'm super interested in that because it's like, I mean, basically with the quad rotors, you're spending a lot of energy just keeping aloft. With the fixed wing, once you get up and get moving, then it's just a matter of maintaining speed. So I would assume that your linger time should be a lot longer than the normal 15 or 20 minutes.
But the fixed wing, you can't hover.
No, you can't hover.
So there's actually a company that's designing a hybrid that has a Harrier style.
It
lift,
shifts, right?
And then it can be, and then will shift and then fly away. So basically, like the Quinjet in the Avengers movie. Think of that, but an RC copter.
So can you use these with like an LTE signal instead of Wi-Fi, so that you can go beyond the 2,000, the 1,000 meters that you can get with the Wi-Fi signal?
What are you talking about for the Wi-Fi?
For radio to control.
Well, Wi-Fi and radio are two different types of signal.
Well, Wi-Fi is a radio signal. What I'm saying is
there's just 2.4.
Oh, analog.
Analog 2.4.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they're not sending video back.
Nobody's doing cellular transmitters then.
No.
Okay.
Even with Wi-Fi, there's the overhead on Wi-Fi makes it not not ideal for long distance control
Because of lag or because of battery?
lag and battery.
Okay.
I mean, that's why the
FPV guys all use analog, right?
Yes, for the video feedback and for control, and the Parrot uses only Wi-Fi for both control and video, and that's we're not sure how that's going to pan out.
It wasn't a great experience in their demo.
No.
Anything else from MakerFaire you want to talk about? Let's see. We saw a bunch of cool stuff. We didn't shoot videos of, like the giant octopus flame guy that Dwayne. I can't remember his last name, but
So last year, Adam came out to do his talk on this thing called the Nautilus, which we did a video tour of.
it's an RV that looks like the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Nautilus from Disney in the 60s.
Calling it an RV maybe is not.
It's an RV chassis. It's a truck. It's a big truck chassis.
Right, but nothing like an RV. It is a vehicle for recreation, but more for nonsense and silliness, irreverence.
It is as close to an RV as the RV from Stripes is.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's a land beast.
I look at that thing and it makes me want to make a drivable version of Jabba's sail barge.
I'm sure someone's already on it.
I maybe. That'd
Or
be awesome.
why not a sandcrawler?
I think the sail barge is better.
I mean, if you look at the Nautilus, and that's supposed to be a water vehicle, and sail barge makes those ideas are tied together.
That
that
reminds me. Gary has a fondness for the Ewoks, doesn't he? Hasn't he come out pro Ewok in the past?
I don't know if he's come up pro Ewok.
I remember him being pro Ewok. Maybe he's telling the story of Wicket, what happened afterwards. Wicket had family. It's a tight relationship drama.
There is Warwick Davis is looking for work.
He's available.
He's definitely available.
Sorry. The 5-ton crane. That's 5-ton crane, right? That's the name of the collective that built the Nautilus.
I think they're based in the East Bay here in the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a big warehouse, and they build things like the rocket plane and that Nautilus, and they had. I think they were the same people.
The Gothic ray gun rocket ship is what you're talking about,
and
right?
I'm not sure if they were the people who made the octopus.
No, the octopus is somebody else.
That's similar things that would be suitable for Burning Man.
Yeah,
that shoot flame.
The octopus is called El Pulpo Mecanico, and a guy named Dwayne something or other. I got to look him up. I have his card. He's up in Humboldt County, so we'll go visit him at some point when we have a couple of days to drive up. It's I got to imagine his shop's pretty neat and full of fire because all of his stuff has a lot of fire on it. Do we want to move on to the big news?
Anything else from MakerFaire left over?
We talked. Let's see. We talked to the Open ROV guys briefly. They have new hardware coming, but wouldn't tell me what it was. Said they'll keep us posted, and we'll go see them when we have that done. I think we're gonna see if we can maybe go on a trip with them and go ROVing, because I think that would be it's kind of the opposite of the quad rotors, right? Instead of going up, we go down, and there's no FAA to keep us in line there. We can go as deep as we want. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's it for MakerFaire. It's been a long time. The big news this week, aside from Gary writing Star Wars and some other stuff that we'll talk about in a minute, is that Apple actually did buy Beats.
Apple bought Beats. I didn't put an egg on it.
No,
I don't remember
you were
putting
smart
egg on
to
it.
not put an egg on it. It would have been a dumb thing to put an egg on.
No, it would have been a smart thing to put an egg on.
Oh, dude, they were totally buying Beats.
Why would they buy Beats? I mean, no, why did they buy Beats? Tell me why did they buy Beats?
They bought Beats because Beats made headphones a category. They made
a premium category that you can make a ton of money, a markup on.
Prior to
but
Beats,
it is a extremely competitive category.
Well, now it is. But here's the thing. But they're the incumbent. Prior to Beats, you could get expensive headphones. You've always been able to get expensive headphones, but previously you had to go. You would get like studio monitors, or there was a very small market for super high-end audiophile headphones from people like Sennheiser and Harman Kardon and Audio-Technica in the $300 to $500 plus range. What Beats did was put $200 headphones that sound like shit in every store in America that sells electronics.
And every music video.
And every music video.
That Interscope Records put out.
Right. And amazing the synergy there.
And which Interscope was where Jimmy Iovine was the executive.
Right.
And also the messaging was, one, designed by Dr. Dre.
Right.
Two, engineered so these are the headphones that
they make your music sound
to record
Yeah.
the songs and
Which is a
mix
lie.
them, which is absolutely a lie.
Yeah.
And then partnered, used the hardware partnership. You know, the first people who prototyped.
Yeah, they used
Beats
Monster.
was Monster Cable. Monster Cable, which Beats dissociated itself from because
Right.
there was a
Somebody wanted more money, I assume.
Beats wanted way more money, and Monster got screwed over.
So Monster had a retail connection with Best Buy and Circuit City and all the. I guess
In
Circuit
which-
City was gone, but all the
absolutely.
places that these things needed to be in order to sell them.
And also selling the message of hardware and
Quality matters.
that yes, their brand and their engineering somehow commands a premium.
Here's
command
the-
the premium
here's the thing.
in commodity hardware.
When did Beats launch? In like 2008?
8 or 9. It's
2000
a 5-year-old company.
Yeah, so 2009. Remember in 2007 when the iPhone came out?
Mm-hmm.
Remember in 2003 when the iPod came out,
Mm-hmm.
and the headphones that came with it sounded kind of bad, and they were $35, and everybody bitched at how expensive they were.
$35 earbuds.
Earbuds. That was
Yes.
expensive.
Yes. And now they're free.
At that point, you would go to, prior to that, you would go to Best Buy or something like that. A pair of $50 or $60 Sony, foldable cans
Sure.
was expensive. And also, no one wore them in public because they look fucking stupid.
The Sony cans.
Big giant earphones. You don't wear them in public.
And now everyone wears them.
Now
in public.
everyone
the bigger,
wears them in
bigger
public.
is better.
Yeah.
It's a big status symbol. All the kids want it. They're $400 headphones.
Jesus, really?
They're $400 headphones, and the company made $1 billion in revenue last year. Now we're talking about a markup of, let's say, 50% profit after production, marketing, and other expenses. That's $500 million. I'm guesstimating right now. $500 million in profit, which for Apple to buy them would pay itself off as long as they can maintain the brand in about 6 years. So the exact terms of the deal, and yesterday was the time to announce it because, one, they needed to close the deal before WWDC. Two, they had been scheduled to appear on the Recode Code Conference yesterday. And also the leaks happened. So the fascinating thing with the story is, one, it's Apple's biggest purchase ever. Now, their past biggest purchase was Next Computing, which
Was a few $100 million, right?
Relatively a bigger, monetarily smaller purchase, but relatively a bigger purchase for Apple at that time.
That's true.
Given that it brought Steve Jobs back in the fold and it saved the entire Mac business.
Well, it wasn't the same.
Apple was not a big company back then.
Apple was still a pretty big company, but Apple wasn't a
the
huge
cusp of
market
dying.
cap company, and Apple used the Next technology as the basis for the
Mac
Mac
OS.
OS and then later iOS, which has turned out to work. It worked out pretty well for them.
Yes, Apple had made more money in market cap today than it would cost for Beats than they cost for them to buy Beats.
So here's the thing. So at the Code Conference, Eddie Q said, "Look, here are the reasons that he gave for buying Beats. They have a good
Which was the company line.
yeah,
Do you see the photo?
huh?
Did you see the Tim Cook photo?
There's
A photo. So as the announced, okay, so the whole story, because we skipped podcast last, so we got to tell the whole story. Billboard and I believe Financial Times first broke the story or brought it to the public spotlight that Apple was going to buy Beats, and the rumor was $3.2 billion. Now, several months ago, there was already a story, I think Associated Press had reported that they were in discussions. And if you listen to Jimmy Iovine talk, he would say that the discussions had been going on, the courting had been going on for 10 years since Steve Jobs was a friend, apparently, of Jimmy Iovine, and they had worked together to work out the iTunes download
the music
deals.
licensing, yeah.
Yes.
And he said, I asked Steve to buy me from the moment we launched the company.
Sure.
Yeah.
And at $3.2 billion, and after that, Dr. Dre and Tyrese posted their Facebook video, going crazy, and apparently that caused a shitstorm, and people went nuts at Apple. But the deal was sealed, and it's $2.6 billion in cash out of Apple's, I believe, $150 billion cash reserves, or over $100 billion in cash reserves. It's
a lot of money
in cash, so it's not a small
it's
chunk
an
of change.
inconsequential amount of money in the overall reserve, though.
Plus in the market cap.
Yeah.
And $400 million in stock that we vested over X number of years based on the talent staying. So they call this three-pronged buyout. One for the talent. So Iovine and Dre.
Best marketing team in the world, I think.
The we now work for the best marketing team in the world.
It's the
which
two
is
best marketing
Phil
teams in
Schiller
the world. Yeah.
and the agencies he's worked with, Chiat Day, because now Beats will no longer use their past marketing agency.
Right.
So
Well, I thought Beats was operating independently.
they had a marketing firm do their commercials and do
Right.
their stuff, their branding. So their titles are Jimmy and Dre.
Is
The official
Jimmy's title Jimmy and Dre, and Dre's title Dre and Jimmy?
title,
Or
Jimmy's
is it
titles
Jimmy's
Jimmy,
title's Jimmy and Dre's title's
and
Dre?
titles Dre.
I want-
Dr. Dre's business card
There's nothing I want more than a Dr. Dre business card.
is Dr. Dre,
Apple.com.
Apple Computers.
Jesus Christ.
He's the Dre of Apple Computers. That's his official title. They will make regular trips up to Cupertino, reporting to Eddie Q, open-shirted, broad-chested Eddie Q, who is
Cool Eddie's what they call
Cool
him down in
Tan Eddie,
down south.
who runs services, who runs iCloud and runs iTunes.
Hey, have you run this by Cool Eddie yet?
I don't know. He's out there sunbathing.
Cool Eddie.
All smiles Q. And they will report to Phil Schiller on the product side, which I assume is
That makes
marketing
sense.
side. And we operated as a separate company. So talent acquisition 1, 2 product acquisition. Apple will make their money back many folds. Just keep on selling Beats headphones.
Headphones and speakers. I mean, clearly they're going to move into speakers.
Sure.
That $99 like Bluetooth speaker for iPad, iPhone thing. That's a real. That's a
That's a marketing
business.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Right now, the Logitechs and the Bauer and Wilkins.
Mm-hmm.
Bauer and Wilkins is the market they want to go after because that's the established sell $500 speakers. If you want to go Bose and Bowers and Wilkins, if you go to an Apple store and you want a speaker dock and you want to spend a lot of money, those are the ones.
Well,
you
and then
buy.
but the small things, the Jambox and the Beats Pill and all that stuff, like that is the entry point for that market. I think they want to own soup to nuts.
They will own soup to nuts, but they will own the high end first.
The thing about Apple is because they have the retail locations, and because they know what the manufacturing stuff costs, they can look at this and they can know what the margins are on all of the stuff in the business.
And
I'm sure
placement
that the
is gonna get
Beats margin.
fucked.
Oh,
Apple Store placement. Right now, if you go to an Apple Store, as of 2 days ago, if you
Yeah.
go to an Apple Store, the headphones are third-party headphones are prominently displayed because Apple wants to convey that you get the best music listening experience with these high-end products. Now you can see the cognitive dissonance churning in Apple fans as they will market toward Apple fans and say that the music is not only engineered to play better out of iPhones, but listen best when you pair it with Beats and the Beats cable.
Well, and I assume. Okay, so just to be clear, the one thing that I think, but I agree that the Beats headphones don't make music sound as the way they claim.
Remember when
that cable is fucking great. The
flat
coiled
cable.
flat
Sure, the
cable
coiled
is
flat cable.
wonderful.
Now, do you remember when we went to CES and you put on those headphones that played the
$2,000 Sennheisers.
$2,000 Sennheisers with
Yeah.
a 24-bit audio?
It's like somebody was fellating my ears.
Right. That is the experience that they're going to sell, that they're going to promise with Beats Plus iPhone.
I don't even know how that works.
But you know what? They're going to have people put on those headphones and have this eargasm and charge you $500 for it.
I would pay $500 for what I got at CES.
You know, the software plus hardware experience is all under one roof, and now the hardware plus accessory experience.
So here's the thing:
is all under one roof.
When new phones and new iPod Touches come out this fall, we'll see a new set of earbuds, presumably designed by Beats. That has to happen, right?
Right. Jimmy Iovine at the Code Conference talked shit about two things.
He's right. Just to be clear.
Well, I love the way the interview went because Eddie Q did most of the talking, but Jimmy Iovine, as the big Type A personalities, Type A's hire Type A's, as
no, that's not what that means. The A's hire A's. What he's saying is good people hire good people.
These clearly a pairing of A's.
Type A's is a different thing. That's aggressive leader types.
But those are
pants.
Jimmy Iovine clearly aggressive
both.
leader type.
Yeah, he's both.
Both on stage vying for screen audio time. Jimmy Iovine would say, "I can't say anything. I just got here. Lawyers won't let me say anything, but let me say something." And he talked shit about two things explicitly in the interview. One, Apple earbuds.
Yeah, and he's right. Just to be clear,
they make those just to make sure the audio works, which clearly tells you I can't talk about future product, but guess what? We're going to make better earbuds for iPhones. And two, talk shit about Spotify, and that's the third part of this acquisition is Beats Music.
So have you actually used Beats Music?
No,
Okay,
because I subscribe to Spotify and I love it.
I tried to sign up for Beats Music yesterday for the second
You want
time
to get
now.
grandfathered in?
Huh?
You want to get grandfathered in?
I don't even care about that. What pisses me off is that those dumbasses don't verify people's email addresses, and they also don't let you change usernames. So some chud signed up for a fucking Beats Music account on the day that it launched using my email address to get a fake a free 14-day trial, and now I can't change Chubbawumba 43 or whatever it is because I like to keep all my accounts hooked on the same email address.
So the idea between of
Fucking
Beats,
assholes.
the idea of Beats Music,
They won't
is
delete the old account or change the username. It's fucking bullshit.
It's a music streaming service that is built on top of a white label service provider.
I don't know what that means.
It means that the deals that they use. So the way Spotify works, and Spotify is a super nuts company where they made the deals. They had a sales team that made the deals with all the labels and paid the labels an undisclosed private amount to get access to libraries of catalog of music.
Does stuff drop off Spotify?
Absolutely.
So, like, for example, you'll have something in your collection, and then 6 months down the road, you'll try to play it, and it won't be there.
Yes.
That fucking makes me crazy.
It happens with Netflix. It is the
It
is the reality of licensing, content licensing.
Here's the thing, though. I don't mind about Netflix because it's not like I go back and watch Frozen 15 times a year. I do go back and listen to a Danger Mouse album from 3 years ago that I want to listen to because it's fucking great. And I'm like, yeah, I'd really like to listen to that. And it's not there. And I wonder why I'm paying $15 or $10 a month to RDO or whatever it is.
Unlimited listening to their existing library. And the strength of their library is one of the pillars of that service. So they work out exclusive deals to get exclusive content early releases. The new Coldplay album's coming out. It will debut on one of these services. But it's not some of the lesser known parts of the library are timed releases. So like Inside Llewyn Davis, that full album, not there. Only 3 songs. It was there for 2 weeks.
The new Roots album has on RDO is missing like 6 tracks.
It will say that the album should be 15 songs, but we only have the license for whatever the hits are. That's just the reality of how these services work. Spotify's second value proposition is their integration with the front end. So the software, the web
fact
app,
that you can dump your own MP3s in there and have all of your own songs in one player is really nice.
It being a standalone app that you can actually, that would be a replacement for iTunes, and also the integration with social media. So that's what the real value they're building. Beats, something like Pandora, purely, they have apps, web services, but they piggyback the licensing off of Sound Exchange, which is intermediary that was brought into existence by the DMCA, Digital Millennium Copyright. And so they pay flat rates for everything, higher rate, because they don't work out all the deals separately with the music providers. And they don't want to. It's too troublesome, and the record labels want too much money. Beats works like Pandora, where they work through a white label licensing service.
So the AACS or something like that.
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay.
And then they built a front end on top of that. And their value proposition is curated playlists.
So do they do demand, like licensing on demand? Is that what happens if somebody hits play,
yes.
goes to get something,
yes.
then it'll just pull a license for
Yeah.
it and then play it for just that one person?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And they want to sell the idea of curated playlists from celebrities and stuff like that, because Jimmy Iovine talks about the idea that the album, the 1 hour listening experience, is dead. That bands are just going to create singles and sell individual songs, and the 1 hour listening experience is going to be a playlist created by someone else.
So just to be clear, this is a thing that Steve Jobs simultaneously did and then denied. Like he was always an album guy. It was very clear that Steve Jobs was an album guy.
I'm getting a phone call from Adam right now. Hold on 1 second.
Well, I'll keep talking, I guess.
Hello, sir.
I don't know. It's a super interesting deal for a lot of reasons. Norm, if you're going to talk about something that we don't want on the podcast, you should not be in the room. We'll come back to this in a minute. I'll run down some small hits. WWDC is next week. That's probably not a small hit. Steam machines are delayed until 2015. That's actually a big deal. I assume it's because they want to get the controller right, or they want to release them simultaneously with Half-Life 3 or something. It's unclear. I didn't know about the Nintendo GameCube Adapter Wii U controller. I'm going to... I don't know if I can fill this long. What can we do here that will be fun? I'll take some questions. We'll do it in the middle of the show this time.
Emails?
Well, but we do the other one.
Email.
'Cause it's, we don't do emails. We do
Emails?
No.
Questions?
Boom. If you have a question for This Is Only a Test, the email address is podcast@tested.com. Please keep it short, under a couple of minutes. And if you're going to send audio questions, make sure it doesn't sound like you're being drugged behind a SR-71 on a cross-country flight. Here's our first question. It comes from Chris. Chris says, I'm sure you guys have heard about this from its emergence on social media, but what are your thoughts on solar freaking roads? It's funny how a lot of people I show this to are naysayers, yet why are so many people negative to such an awesome idea? Believing in the idea doesn't affect you negatively in any way. I had someone fighting with me on social media, swore up and down that it wouldn't show up in our lifetime, arguing that this is a technology spawn, blah, 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 blah. Why are people so negative about potentially neat technology? Okay, couple of things here. One is that the solar roadways, the concept here is that we spend a lot of surface area of the planet on asphalt, and somebody has come up with a way to embed electricity generating solar cells in the asphalt or as part of the road surface or something like that. This kind of comes back to the Fred Flintstone Sergey Brinometer. So the Fred Flintstone Sergey Brinometer is my idea that all new inventions and ideas can be plotted somewhere on this spectrum. And at either end are Sergey Brin, one of the dudes who invented Google and who was largely responsible for coming up with the PageRank algorithm, which is super smart and basically says that the more people who link into a page, the better that page probably is. On the other end of that spectrum is Fred Flintstone, who had a bunch of schemes that never went anywhere and drove a car that was powered by his feet and used birds as TVs and stupid shit like that. The solar cell thing, based on what people know right now, people's reaction to a new technology is largely dependent on where it falls on the Flintstone Brinometer. So solar cells on the road is way down on the Fred Flintstone side, where, let's say private space flight using existing technology and just funding it differently, maybe optimizing, is on the Sergey Brin. The question, Norm, thank you for coming back, is why are people down on neat ideas like solar freaking roads? The idea that solar cells will be embedded in roads and thus will reclaim some of that surface area that we waste on asphalt back for generating electricity. It's too far on the Fred Flintstone side of the Flintstone Brinometer, right? People hear something like that and they think, oh, that's crazy. There's no way that can work. I drive on that. It has to withstand cars and trucks and all sorts of, millions and millions of cars driving over it a year. There's no way we could possibly do that.
That's why Google should buy an island or a small town and do things like Google Fiber and autonomous cars and rebuild all the streets.
Solar roads.
And build the city of the future in a small town in America and use that as an example.
Disney did that 30 years ago.
And and the first murder of that town happened last year.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna stick a pin in emails because you're back, and we're gonna go back to
Apple and Beats.
I don't remember where you were talking about something. You were just kind of going on and on. I think you were talking about Eddie Q.
Eddie Q. What Beats service will bring to Apple?
Yeah, the having a real music service. So Apple said they have 40 million people using iTunes Radio, which is much more than I would have ever expected because it's not very good.
That's 5%
of people using iPhones.
Yes, 800 million people. They have 800 million iOS customers.
Here's my theory about that.
And Spotify, music streaming is a tough business to get into. They need to save. Apple needs to save the digital music, or get into the digital music business.
Apple needs to continue making money off of music,
which they're not because iTunes downloads went down for the first time a year ago.
Right. The iTunes Radio, the way it works is when you press play, either because you get in your car, the Bluetooth connects to your phone, it automatically starts playing whatever the last thing you were listening to was. Let's say 9 times out of 15, my phone just starts playing iTunes Radio because it doesn't know what the last app that was playing music was, either because my podcast app crashed or the phone restarted or Springboard restarted or something like that. I think a lot of their 40 million people that happens to, and they just don't realize it because if you get in the car and you play Pandora and you get in the car and iTunes Radio starts instead, you're probably not going to notice for a while, unless you look at the phone.
I don't know if that's a significant amount of their 40 million people.
I think a lot of kids also, like, there's a large number of people. I was talking to some relatives of mine who are huge Pandora fans, and they treat it like radio. They get in the car, they hit the Pandora button, and it just plays songs, and they skip when they want, they don't skip when they don't want. But they're never going to pay for music. They're never going to pay for audio or Spotify or Beats. But they're iTunes Radio people. They're Pandora people. I think Pandora offers a better experience for them. I'm going to sign up for a Beats account and break my rule about I keep all the shit that is monthly charges on the same account. I can't do that on the same email address. I can't do that now because these people are chuds. And they won't let me delete this old crappy account that this Courtney person set up. So yeah, anyway. I don't know where I was going with that. It really angers me. It's terrible customer service.
The Beats acquisition, even though people are making a big deal out of it, and it's a $3 billion acquisition, I think it's not the monetary value. It is what does Beats bring outside the services? What expertise does Jimmy and Dre bring that Apple feels like
they're
they
real
need
cool, man,
right now? And a question that Walt Mossberg asked directly is, did they buy cool? Was this a $3 billion purchase to buy audience? And is the inference there is Apple losing its cool? And is Apple struggling? And I think that
seems right.
It's a tough question to answer because the Apple pundits would say that's a ridiculous question. And if you look at Apple profits and the trajectory of markets and the expansion of iPhone is only going up and up and up. And there's no reason to believe. I mean, yes, the smartphone market has matured to some extent, but there's still a lot of growth there. And finding the next big thing the next big hardware thing has to coincide with marketing the next big hardware thing. And
I don't think Apple's been cool for a long time. I mean, I think Apple makes cool products, but their focus, from the dawn of the iOS age has been making things simple. They market a lot toward baby boomers. Like they spend a lot of energy marketing toward my parents.
So who's the cool company then?
I don't know.
Samsung?
No, Samsung's not cool.
So who's the cool smartphone company?
Maybe Google.
No, Apple is still the coolest smartphone company.
Okay,
it's still the aspirational.
But that's like being the coolest guy in chess club.
It's the coolest. It's the aspirational company, aspirational product.
They want to create the thing people want. That's absolutely products. True. Absolutely true. But I think that's separate from being cool.
Beats is. I think those things are synonymous. I think Beats is successful because it is the aspirational product, and whether the aspiration is to be cool or not, that is what they're selling, and that is what people will shell out money for.
I don't.
The money you're spending is for a product, but it's also to be something that you want to be.
So I'm far enough away from being a teenager and wanting the thing that everybody else has that it's difficult for me to remember. Like I can't imagine a world where I would buy the thing that everybody else has instead of the one that sounds good. You know what I mean?
Well, they want to tell you that it can be both.
I understand that that's what they're telling me, but that's not what they have produced so far.
And you know what? People's barriers to what's good enough. I mean, I would argue that the iOS isn't good enough. And if I wanted the best phone, I wouldn't get I wouldn't get an iPhone. But it's good enough for what most people want, for what 800 million people want.
Well, here's the thing. Your idea of good and my idea of good are different because I want something that has the 3 apps that I use most frequently and that all the other shit doesn't work. You want to be able to go in and customize a bunch of shit that I don't care about. So that you get a perfectly tailored experience for you. I just want to pick up the phone and have something that works out of the box. Like, that's the difference. Both are cool. Kind of, I guess. I don't know. I think we've talked about this enough. Does Apple change as a result of this?
No, absolutely not. I think Jimmy and Dre being consulting executives, they will run their business as long as they continue to run Beats well. I think Beats will be stronger for it. The people who like Beats before won't think that Beats is any less cool. It's still going to be aspirational. The people who can be fooled into spending $400 for headphones, largely for an image and brand, will buy into the idea that pairing your iPhone with Beats will make the experience that much better, and the synergy between now being all under one roof will make that listening experience that much better. It all feeds into itself.
Do you think they're going to have like a Beats boost button like those HTC phones had?
I don't think so. Beats they dissociated themselves with HTC, which had spent $300 million on a 51% stake. It sucks for them, but they did get the money and get bought out. And I think Beats still has a contract with HP that will run out. I don't think we're going to get MacBooks with Beats logos or anything like that. None of that will happen. It's not the same type of partnership as the HTC and HP deals, because Apple has nothing really to gain by putting Beats logos on those products. We're not going to see a Beats logo on the iPhone.
In fact, at this point, a Beats logo on the product probably is a detriment for a lot of their core
Yes,
audience.
Beats wants, and I think Apple will be smart to run Beats Beats won't need to be run as a marketing, as a pure brand-based business in terms of licensing, putting Beats quote-unquote technology in other products. Beats will be run as a build Beats products company. Build Beats headphones, build Beats speakers, build Beats speakers for cars, that kind of stuff. And
continue to expand that brand.
Sure. And this tells me that Apple wants to expand into other hardware businesses where there can be high margin.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this when the initial rumor started. I think that there's definitely market for Apple, Facebook, Amazon, all of the big valley tech companies to diversify. Like, you look at they're looking at what's happening to Microsoft with Windows and what's happening to Sony with TVs, and they have to be looking at getting more wider diversity of products in the stables that they can sell, that they can make money with, even if one of the core businesses goes away. Amazon probably less than everybody else, because since they sell everything and make no money. But Facebook buying Oculus, buying WhatsApp, all the other stuff are clearly looking at diversifying. Apple is even looking at diversifying now. I think it's a bold new world for that stuff. Next, this is another huge news. Google this week pulled the wraps off of their native. It's a only self-driving car. Previously all the self-driving cars that we've seen around the Bay Area are converted Priuses and Lexuses and stuff like that. So they take it a Lexus SUV, write software or build motors that hook into the existing driver infrastructure, and then they drive the car using robots. This is a car that you get into, you sit down. It's a science fiction car. There's no steering wheel. There's no gas pedal. There's no brake.
There's a button.
There's a button.
That says stop.
And then
the emergency stop button. I don't even know if it's a big red button.
I hope it's big and red.
It looks like Totoro.
Do you think it's behind it does look like Totoro. Do you think it's behind like a little switch that you flip a cover up before you hit the button?
No, I think it's like a power button on the
How do you tell this where to go?
Your Google phone, your Android phone, clearly. Or voice activation.
Do you get in and say Google?
These are prototype
Google.
cars that they're going to be experimenting on closed roads first and in Nevada, because right now the
you can do whatever the fuck you want in Nevada.
Well, absolutely, we all know that. The legal specifications, parameters for testing autonomous vehicles require that the cars have driver capabilities right now, at least in California. And California and Nevada are the two states that have allowed testing of these driverless cars. Nevada first. So they're going to build 100 of these. They haven't said who's actually going to make the cars, but they do look like the least aerodynamic cars. They're not cars meant to go fast. They're 25 miles an hour top maximum electric cars.
And they're electric. Yeah, they're electric.
They're electric. And
they look like smart cars, but kind of bulbier.
They're the most bulb. They look like a children's car, like a children's toy, like the kind of car that you put your feet under and you Flintstone walk it.
Yeah,
like those the big hood cars,
or big golf carts.
Yeah, like big golf carts.
Yeah. It has lights though. It has brakes.
I guess it's a real car. They will be internet connected because they will need to tap into Google, the Google database, and it'll be interesting to see these on the road.
So the law in California changes, I think, at the end of this year, July or something, so that they can actually license autonomous vehicles in California as well. That was a news story that happened last week that we didn't really talk about. I look at this and I see this as not really the future of cars that you buy, but as the future of like Zipcar, right? So if you think about Zipcars and cabs, a lot of people use them kind of the same way. Those short term, those like they're essentially Zipcars, essentially like subscription rental car, right? So you pay a couple $100s a month and you get X number of times in the car, X number of hours, X number of miles, whatever. I could totally see paying $100 a month for if I lived in a city or I was not able to drive because of vision problems or some disability or points, whatever the reason you can't drive. Paying $100 a month for a subscription to the Google car, so that you hit the button on your phone, it swoops in and picks you up. I mean, honestly, if it's the Google car, you don't even have to hit the button on the phone. It knows that your next appointment is away from where you are and comes and picks you up 15 minutes before you're supposed to be for 15 minutes before you need to leave.
I think that's where we'll start. Once the regulation happens, it'll start in small cities first, I believe. The big stress test will be big
cities that are underserved by public transportation right now. Like if you look at like the town that I grew up in had a municipal bus system that was essentially useless.
Well, and also cities that can have the infrastructure with the bus lanes that these can potentially ride in. I think small cities will be vying for this, just like they'll be vying for Google Fiber, because they'll bring attention to the small cities. It'll increase awareness of the small towns. I think they'll experiment with these in small towns. But analysts predict that by 2015 or
5 years from now,
not 2015,
2019.
2019. Let me get the numbers right. In a few decades, about 25% of the cars on the roads will be autonomous cars, or have the ability to drive autonomously, and that by 2050, I believe that number will reach like 50%.
Yeah, I figure I'll buy. I usually buy cars every 5 or 6 years. I kind of figure that not this next car I buy, but the one after that has a pretty good chance of being autonomous.
If you talk about buying cars, and cars are that's exactly the type of product that people buy and keep for a decade.
Yeah,
or more. They're not the type of consumer products that people that can ride.
It's not unusual to see a car that's
technology.
40 years old.
Right, and so cars, people don't buy the new car because of the new technologies out. They wait for certain milestones in technology. People they'll go, oh, this year's car is electric. We're going to buy this one. They're going to wait till technology is mature because they buy for long periods of time.
The thing that's changing though is that the advances in technology are reducing the cost of the more frequent upgrade. So, for example, if you're driving a gas car right now and you're putting, say, it's a car that gets 15 or 20 miles to a 20 miles to a gallon, and you have a 30-mile commute each day, then all of a sudden just the cost of the fuel for the car, not counting maintenance and all that, combined with the lower cost of pure electrics, it means that that potentially can be disrupted. That whole industry is ripe for disruption in the Silicon Valley sense of the word.
I think more so the modular aspect of the things that you can potentially upgrade in your car. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Like motors and batteries and stuff?
The console. Start with dash consoles and standardizing that. The next car that people are going to wait to buy are going to be the electric cars first. And then after electric cars, you wait for infrastructure to get built up, then the autonomous cars. So we're talking about 2 decades from now, early adopters. Right now, early adopters are still buying electric cars. And I think when you say 2 cars from now, you're going to get an autonomous car. The next car you're talking about is an electric one, or at least a hybrid.
This next car is probably a hybrid or an electric, yeah. I look at my daughter, who's a year and a half old, and I assume that by the time she's old enough to drive 16 or 17 years from now, there'll be
an option for an autonomous car.
Instead of getting her a car that she drives, I can get a car that will essentially co-drive for her, so that if she makes mistakes, it will correct.
Or maybe the concept of owning cars will go away, and it will be more the Zipcar, more the shared car services.
I mean, if you think about it, unless you own a pickup truck, owning cars it is massively inefficient, right?
Well, it's also the American dream.
It was the American dream. It's not my American dream.
I think that there's the resistance and all logically practical. If we talk about logic and practicality, it makes much more sense to subscribe to a service, because you think about buying a $30,000 car lasting 10 years. That's $3,000 a year
It's more that you buy a $30,000 car that you use for maybe an hour a day.
Right. And if you're talking about amortizing that over plus maintenance over 10 years, that's several $1,000s a year. Or you subscribe to something that you can get picked up when you need. It'll be more efficient, get you there faster, and you get access to it whenever you want without parking.
Yeah.
That makes much more sense logically, but in reality, the idea of ownership, an idea of being able to do whatever you want in your car, have all your being a second extension of your house, keeping all your music, whatever garbage you have, storing stuff in the trunk, that appeal of that is too strong to pull us away from owning cars.
See, I think this is where you're showing your age, because I think that the generation that's younger than you could give a fuck about owning a car.
I disagree.
I mean, obviously, there's always going to be some people who are into it.
I think the kids I think the kids want to own. I think it's still ingrained in our
Pop
DNA.
culture.
It's just in our culture.
I just think, like, what if? Here's the other thing: if you own a car, it's autonomous. What's to say it drops you off at work and then it goes to work all day and is essentially working as an agent, making you money?
And I think that's a half step. That's a half measure.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to stop owning cars. And I think that, I mean, if someone told you right now, hey, Will.
Yes, Norm.
You can drop your car off and you park in your parking lot at the office, and then someone picks it up and you get $50 a day for someone to drive it around and use it as a lift. Well, I don't know what's going to be enough, but dude, that resistance tells you that people still want to own their cars. You still want to own your car, and you're less inclined to share it with people. The act of sharing makes it less yours.
Here's the thing. So right now I'm in a 2-car family, right? My wife has her car with the car seat in the back, and it's essentially the family station wagon, goes to get groceries. When we go on a trip, we take that because the car seat is essentially, for the next 5 years, a permanent fixture of that car. The other car, the car that I drive every day, is just a thing that conveys me from home to work because I live in an area that's poorly served by public transportation. If I could get rid of that second car, like, I think what we'll see is a return to the 1-car family. The 50s era single car. You know, owning a car is a massive expense. You have insurance, you have maintenance, you have fuel. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it's not necessary if literally all you're using it for is to go to and from a place. And I think as you see, you know, kids that are coming up now are the eventual outcome of urban flight is that kids aren't going to buy cars because why would they? They're moving to cities. Why a car in San Francisco or New York or Chicago is a massive liability. It's just another huge expense that you have to incur for going to Costco and Target.
Yeah, maybe the 1-car vacation car family.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I think we'll end up with this. I'm excited about it. I think it's really cool.
People will want the best of both worlds. They want to be able to own their car and also have an infrastructure that will support traffic infrastructure that will support efficient autonomous ferrying.
Yeah, I think what we're going to end up seeing.
I think we'll have to choose, but I think it's going to be like, you know, split highways.
I think we'll end up seeing the equivalent of bike lanes, where if you want to drive your manual car, you're limited to X
the
roads.
HOV lane.
Yeah, or
it'll be the autonomous vehicle lane.
Probably it's the other way. I think it's the manual car lane versus the HOV, the autonomous lane.
Well, that's what we want eventually.
LG announced the G3 last week. What's the G3,
this
Norm?
week.
Was it this week? It seems like a long time ago.
The LG G3 is their new flagship phone, coming to U.S. in all 4 carriers this summer. No pricing, of course, and it is a phone with a 2560 by 1440 screen, 5.5 inches. That's
So
basically all you need to know about
the
it.
1440p screen is a new thing, right?
Or 1400 screen.
1400p screen.
That is not super new. There are other phones that have done a 1400p screen, but not at this size and this pixel density with this narrow bezel. And LG, who made the LG G2, and also who actually makes the Nexus 5, this phone looks a lot like the Nexus 5 in terms of its design.
That's good. So it means that the manufacturers are lifting from themselves, I guess, essentially. But
they're taking the best parts of what they've done. I mean, if Nexus 5 was the best of the Nexus, in terms of cost and maybe not build quality,
But at least the design looks. I love the design on it.
Design is great because of a narrow bezel. Because even though
Yeah.
it's a 5-inch phone, it doesn't feel like a giant 5-inch phone. It
Well-
feels as big as a 4.5-inch phone.
I like that it looks generic. You know what I mean? I like that it doesn't. It's not branded heavily.
That's more of Google. The LG one will have the LG logo. And
Obviously.
it will come in colors.
But I like that it doesn't have a big metal stripe around the edge or whatever. Like that's the least favorite. Like, yeah, I just like that it looks like a slab. Slabs are cool.
I haven't seen this phone in person, so I don't know what that screen looks like. People who have say it looks gorgeous. It is an LCD screen. 5.5. I mean, we're inching higher and higher.
Yeah.
I think that I think I could probably make use of a 5.5-inch phone. I probably wouldn't have said that 3 years ago.
Phones are getting bigger. Are you wearing tighter jeans or looser jeans these days?
No.
No, still skinny jeans. Are you
Slims.
worried you're gonna have to get a purse to carry this thing around when you go to a 5.5-inch phone?
No, I think I think back pockets can still fit
Okay,
phones.
back pocket.
Dimension-wise, it's several millimeters bigger in each dimension. 8.9 millimeters thickness as opposed to 8.5 in the Nexus 5. 3,000 milliamp battery. So battery is a big thing for this.
There's a rumor. Is this final now? I don't know about this. Did YouTube actually buy Twitch, or is that just rumored?
I think it. I don't know if they've. I think all reports say they are buying.
In
it.
talks, right?
Yes.
So
There's
Twitch,
also a last week bit of news.
yeah, Twitch is a video game streaming service. It's all reported.
I think it's a
so
big
far.
deal. That's a big deal.
Well, I didn't realize how big Twitch was. Like, I knew conceptually that a lot of people spend a lot of time on Twitch. I didn't realize that Twitch is during prime time like the fourth largest consumer of bandwidth on networks in the U.S.
Twitch is
or on the
what
internet.
YouTube wants its gaming channel to be. And there was a whole subset of YouTube broadcasters who broadcast games, Let's Plays, and Twitch is Let's Play. You
Yeah.
don't do Let's Play without Twitch.
Twitch is live Let's Plays.
And that's why it's integrated with PlayStation and Xbox. That's still going to continue, theoretically.
I think that the PlayStation and PS4 and Xbox One integration with Twitch increased the value of Twitch dramatically.
Sure.
Because it's the first time that there's been an easy path off of those consoles for video game footage.
Yes,
I mean-
without external hardware. But I think what YouTube wants to do with Twitch is, with its gaming, but also use Twitch, the live browsing experience of Twitch. People are used to going on Twitch.com or browsing Twitch apps and surfing Twitch like they do real TV channels.
Yeah.
Except for games, it's the ESPN of games, and building YouTube live content around that. And so when you're on Twitch, you'll not only get all the game stuff, you'll also get tutorials, you also get live stream, hangout style videos, talking heads, vloggers, and Google events all on Twitch,
which
which YouTube does already, but it's not successful at doing.
I wouldn't say it's not successful, but it's not an optimal. It's
I
not
don't
a
think
good experience.
People don't go to YouTube just to browse for streams because the content isn't there.
People go to YouTube and watch a lot. Like, they type "Let's Play" in the name of the game they're looking for all the time.
I'm not going to YouTube.com and saying, what am I watching tonight
You're
live?
14 years too old to do that.
YouTube.com.
I've spent a fair amount of time on Twitch lately. It's once I kind of made like Gina and I talked about this because she thought it was weird that people wanted to watch people play video games. I was like, well, why is it? Is it weird that people want to watch people play baseball? Like, I'll go when I'm on vacation. If there's somebody playing some weird sport like cricket or something like that, I will go and watch them play cricket. I'm never going to play cricket. I don't care about cricket. But just watching the mechanics of another game play out is kind of interesting. Like, I will watch StarCraft sometimes, even though I'm terrible at StarCraft. I shouldn't be allowed near StarCraft. But it's interesting to watch people who are good at something do it. It's even interesting to watch people who are bad at something do it, frankly. So yeah, $1 billion for Twitch, which seems like a pretty good value.
Everyone's buying everyone.
Yeah.
Facebook bought Oculus.
The
bought Beats.
The bad part
Google
about
bought
this.
Twitch.
The bad part about this is if Twitch suddenly is part of Content ID, YouTube's anti-copyright, copyright police
I don't
service.
think the infrastructure can integrate.
Yeah, it can. It's just APIs. There's already Ustream does the same thing where they pull copyrighted content. They use their own thing, I think.
I think there's going to be an exception because the content looks exactly the same.
Well, the problem is on YouTube, game publishers and music composers and everybody who makes any part of the game basically has the ability to pull down videos of games.
Google will make the exception for its own products.
They haven't done it on YouTube.
For its own products?
What do you mean?
I think because
People who are streaming and or posting video let's plays of games get the monetization opportunity taken away from their streams.
well, Nintendo just announced
Nintendo announced that they're
rev
rev splitting it, which
splitting,
is
so maybe that's the way to go.
maybe, I don't know. It's the larger issue.
I know
comes,
publishers will want the rev split, or straight up ownership.
Most publishers don't give a shit because they look at it as marketing.
I think publishers want both. They want their cake and eat it too. They want the free marketing, and they want the free marketing and the vloggers and let's play guys to market their games for them with special invites to events, and they want to also own that content or make money off it.
I maybe eventually, but right now they're, for the most, except for Nintendo, is my understanding. Most people are just like, yep, stream whatever you want. It's cool. Free marketing. Don't put dicks next to it.
Well, if you say don't put dicks next to it, then you want some type of control.
Right. The thing that's uncomfortable about all of this is that right now Twitch is kind of the Wild West when it comes to all of this stuff, and post YouTube acquisition, theoretically, it won't be like that. That should probably go away. I don't mean I think it should. I mean that because YouTube acquires them and Google is super tight on that stuff, it is going to go away. So it's kind of unfortunate if we see the situation like happened with Total Biscuit and those guys, where composers who submit content ID ownership of music from video games are able to hijack monetization on people's Let's Plays because that music plays in the background of the game. That is utter and complete horse shit, I think. Anyway, I mean, maybe this will force YouTube to address the kind of shortcomings of their content ID and copyright systems. Because, the way people probably don't know this, but the way YouTube works right now is if anybody that's not you owns any part of your, claims ownership of any part of your video. For example, there's a piece of royalty-free music that we have licensed. We have a license to that shows up in a lot of our videos, but it's mainly the one that hits all the time is the Wall-E video. So as soon as somebody claims that, they take all of the revenue that we would make on that video and it becomes theirs because theoretically we have stolen that music. It is music that no one owns. There seems to be no repercussion for people who do this illicitly. So the people who are claiming rights to this music do not own rights to this music, should not be able to do this. Once that happens, we can't get the money back that they take. It's gone. It's probably 35 cents, so it's not a huge deal. But over a large number of views and over a long period of time, it just fucking sucks. It's really bad. And if you're doing this with video games, where almost all of the content that you own, that you're producing, has 15 different contributory pieces, it could get really awful. Like it becomes a full-time job keeping up with the content ID claims, and it's bullshit. So they got to fix it. Hopefully they'll fix it. Microsoft last week announced the Surface Pro 3. Was that last week too, or was that this week?
Did you talk about that with Gina as well?
Gina and I did not talk about the Surface Pro 3. This may shock you. It's bigger. It's higher resolution.
This is a big deal for Microsoft. One, that they're sticking with Surface. When we talked to
Panos
Panay, late last year, after they announced Surface 2 and Surface Pro 2s, which frankly was basically a reboot, a minor refresh.
A reskin.
A reskin. Just an internal update.
The
I
keypads were
more
better.
Of a tick,
Yeah.
Than the talk.
Well, he said they were on a 3-year cycle for that product.
They said that he said very clearly that they had a roadmap of products, which it's difficult to reconcile having this roadmap of products and also him saying that they were very responsive. Now, I got to call out a couple things because this video is the whole presentation is online. You can watch it on TechNet.
Dude, it is super uncomfortable.
I love it. I think Panos Panay is one of the great.
You think harassing people in the audience is great?
I think he is one of the great corporate pitchmen of our times. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, did the introduction, and it was maybe the second or third time I heard him do one of these introductions. And he is a wonderful speaker. Also, a little weird, if you close your eyes, kind of sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger. A little bit. Bit.
I can see that.
Look, go listen to the video.
Yeah.
This is not a character judgment or anything. It just what clicks in my head is Arnold Schwarzenegger a little bit. But Panos Panay, who I got to see do the Surface 2 presentation last September, and we were invited to this but couldn't make it because it was a Tuesday after MakerFaire.
And it was in New York.
And it was in New York, and we didn't know they were giving out the Surface 3 Pro 3s to review.
Even if we had known they were giving out Surface Pro 3s to review, I don't know how we would have gotten there.
It would have been worth it. It would have been worth it. Because these products are not out until June 20th, the i5 version. Surface Pro 3 looks like a big difference, a shift in direction, a pivot, if you will, from Surface 2 and 1. Not in that it's not a tablet with a keyboard cover accessory, but the aspect ratio makes the difference, all the difference in what you can do with it.
Hold on, the extra 20 pixels on the bottom?
Just the sheer aspect ratio.
You mean the bigger size?
The bigger size. It's a 12-inch.
Yeah, I'm much more interested in a 12-inch laptop than a 10-inch laptop.
And the right thing to do is call it a laptop. I hate that during the entire presentation they call it a tablet first that can replace your laptop. It is a laptop. It is a laptop with a compromise because the keyboard isn't built in. Laptop that also they want you to use as your tablet because it is priced like a laptop. The $900 is priced like the MacBook Air.
Yeah.
It is a MacBook Air competitor. Microsoft's MacBook Air competitor runs,
or Lenovo Yoga.
Or Lenovo Yoga competitor that Microsoft wants to convince you that you don't need an iPad to use. Also with. The problems that we have with Surface 2 and Surface 1 in using it like a laptop, they seem to have addressed somewhat.
Well, we don't know about the Surface 2 because I don't think we ever spent any time with one.
We had Surface 2.
Did you have? Oh, yeah, we did.
did
You got
yeah.
the one with the other thing.
The Surface 2 had the two hinges. So the two things they did with the Surface 3 to make it more laptop friendly, and they'll use lappability and whatever, is the hinge now is a continuous hinge as opposed to being locked to. Now, if you look in retrospect at the Surface 1 and that 20-degree hinge, that was silly.
Remember when we said it was a shitty product? High. We were right.
And the second hinge, made it lower, now can go even further, but it can be stiff at any direction.
That's actually a good thing, I guess.
Now, we don't know how firm that is, that hinge is, when in its intermediate.
Nobody's complained about that.
No one has yet. But it being able to go basically all the way back so it can be used as a canvas, so you can pop it down on the table and then use the digitizer to draw on.
That's interesting to me because then you have the easel kind of angle that you want when you're drawing on a table.
Which you couldn't do with the Yoga because the Yoga's hinge was floppy when you flipped it around.
Once it got too far, right?
Mode.
Yeah.
It wasn't firm enough, that hinge. Now, the other thing that makes it more usable as a laptop is the redesign of the cover, which is, again, you have to buy a new cover. The old covers won't work with this one.
Hey, guess what?
And that's because they added an additional magnetic point, so it doesn't just clip on one side. It folds up and locks on to a second point.
It's like it's doing yoga.
It's very smart because that bracing at both the bottom and also just above the lip for the edge of the screen connects the keyboard with the screen that much more.
So it gives you a much more rigid hinge.
Extremely rigid hinge.
But still, it looks like the keyboard flaps.
Well, the keyboard can flap regardless, but it'll flap up and down, but won't flap left and right.
So here's the thing: the keyboard was much more like with the second gen one, the connection, the interaction between the keyboard and the tablet was much less wobbly. On the first one, you could kind of push down on one side of the keyboard, and the other side would go up, and it was real rocky. So you couldn't actually use it on the lap. The second one you could kind of use on the lap, if I recall. Wasn't super impressed, but you could actually type with the touch keyboard on the lap, and that was okay. This one looks even better. But it's 8 months after the last one came out. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that they announced it today.
So it's 9 months after the last one came out. And it will
come out, and August is theoretically when the $900 model and the i7 models will come out. What's more ridiculous is that, in terms of the timing, is that they didn't put the new Haswell chips inside.
Oh, it has the last year Haswell?
It has last year's Haswell, not the new low power update. I think Broadwell would make this even more interesting if they wanted to wait.
I don't think they can afford to wait.
That's why this is really. That's why they made the announcement.
It was interesting. The other interesting thing to me is that there was no ARM version.
They didn't announce it. The rumors were that there was supposed to be a 7-inch version that they would announce that would be continuation. But I think it's smart, and the reports say that they canned it at the last minute because they didn't think it differentiated enough. And I don't think it was more of a competing with the Surface Pro message, but
It was that there's
not
no
holding,
reason to buy the
there's
7-inch
no
one.
reason to release a product that doesn't differentiate itself enough, which is a good sign for Microsoft that they're willing to think about their products and not put anything on the market that is going to have a really distinct competitive advantage. Windows and Office, not really a competitive advantage.
Right. So there was some feedback from artists. Gabe from Penny Arcade, who has been a pretty big Surface proponent over the first 2 generations of the x86 version. One of the things they did is because of the way the keyboard works now, the capacitive Windows button that previously was in the middle on the long edge of the screen is now on the middle of the short edge of the right side of the screen. But apparently it's really easy to hit in the prototype, in the early version that they gave him. Apparently they're going to work on that in software or something like that when you're actually drawing. They changed the number of pressure levels on the digitizer.
They're using a new digitizer. I think Entrig is the company they're going with. And it is 256 levels of sensitivity versus whatever, 4 times as much on the previous one, which doesn't seem to be a big deal according to
1024
early tests, Gabe. So the problem the artists have, the Wacom tablets, the one that you buy that has a screen on it, the Cintiqs, those are very expensive. Those are like $2,000.
Well, it's essentially a computer, right? It's a computer with a monitor.
So this one is also a computer with a monitor with a 12-inch screen.
Right.
Again, the aspect ratio, it being 12 inches is less important than the aspect ratio changing, because a 12-inch 16:9 versus a 12-inch 3:2 is a lot of different surface area, not just the way it's distributed, but sheer number of pixels.
It's taller. You have something that approximates an 8x10 piece of paper.
So a 3:2 is aspect ratio is a big deal. Not just that you can use it in the portrait and landscape. Right. I think most people still use it in landscape. But you're going to be able to actually draw, and you can actually
people are going to use it in landscape because of the stand. There's no way to use it in portrait unless you're holding it.
Right.
Which is, I think the stand is actually a good thing, theoretically, given the design that they've used this go around. I don't know. I'm interested. Kind of. I still am torn on this. Like to me, the mistake has always been that if I'm going to replace my laptop with something, the laptop is the part that's the important part, and the tablet should be gravy, not the other way around.
So the messaging is still flipped, where they're saying this is the laptop that can replace or this is a tablet that can replace your laptop. It needs to be, this is a great laptop that can replace your tablet.
What's the storage? Is it 64 gigs?
For the 90,
for the 900?
And you pay $200 more for the i5 with more storage.
And is the $900 MacBook Air, is it a 64? It's 128, right?
The baseline MacBook Air is 128.
Yeah, see that 64 gigs does it still have an SD card slot?
Micro SD card slot.
It does. 64 gigs doesn't seem like enough, and micro SD card slots are not something you can use for writing. Like, you could put your music collection on a micro SD card. You could put save videos on a micro SD card. If you're trying to do like lots of writes, you're going to be real sad if you do that on a micro SD card, in my experience.
Yeah, I think, and also Surface has not been very good in the past about allocation of space.
I think that
installation Windows
8.1 was supposed to address a lot of that.
That has been addressed with the backup stuff. But I would not want to pick this up unless it was an i5 with 128 gig at least of storage. Which then puts it up to $300, and that's $1,200, $1,300.
Then you're in MacBook Air 13-inch territory instead of 11-inch territory, which is good.
This is not a competitor for 11-inch. This is a competitor for the MacBook Air 13-inch.
Also
high resolution screen, much higher resolution screen than any MacBook Airs. It's
at least until this fall.
Well, or next week.
Yeah, or next week.
It'll be this fall.
It'll be in the fall, unless they get early Broadwell. The other thing that Gabe said was that he had noticeable. Oh, they also talked a lot about the depth of the screen. So the stack for the digitizer and the screen.
Don't believe it until I see it.
Yeah, I mean that's always, but that's a big advantage if they actually manage to do it. Gabe had mentioned that the one that they gave him was laggy, was slow.
That's a function of the processor and the graphics, the GPU,
but I mean,
which is Intel 4400.
But that's the one that they're selling at $900, and if that's not the one you want to buy, then the $900 SKU is less. Because
They gave him the i5 one.
Oh, they gave him the i5 one?
They gave him the i5.
Oh.
Yeah, they they don't have the i3s ready yet. None of the i3s are ready. Everyone got the i5.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The way digitizers work, the optical bonding matters less because from my experience with the Wacoms, when you put the digitizer close enough to the screen, it's pixel accurate, but you can hover the pen above the screen and you can still get detection. It's not like you need to put the pen on the screen to the drawing. And regardless of how tight the optical bonding is, there's still parallax.
We still have to correct for it in software somehow.
There's still a ton of parallax.
Should we talk about? We have a couple more small things, and then we'll talk about WWDC. What's up, SpaceX Dragon 2?
Tonight, Elon Musk is going to announce the Dragon 2 capsule, the crewed capsule version of SpaceX.
Or separate?
Is this a code?
Is this part of Code, the Recode conference, or is this something separate?
No, this is their own
their own event.
Their own press conference, which will also be live streamed. Dragon is the capsule that SpaceX has developed to send to ISS.
Yeah, they've sent. They've done three or four.
They've done 3 missions to ISS as part of a multi-billion-dollar contract with NASA, and this is the same capsule refitted to house 7 crew members.
So it's reusable, right? That's the big deal on Dragon, is that the whole thing is reusable.
Well, the capsules have always been reusable. It's the
Dragon capsules have the capsules haven't always been reusable.
The Dragon capsules have always been reusable.
Yeah.
I'm saying the boosters are still not reusable. The rockets, and that's the costly part.
Okay.
Retrieving the rockets, and this is not that. This is not.
This is just reusable
this
capsule.
This is not the rockets that can go up and down and do the VTOL stuff.
Okay, this is land with parachutes in the water or retro rockets on the land or whatever.
And this is just the retrofitted Dragon capsule.
Got it. Steam Machines delayed until 2015. I talked about this a little bit earlier. They didn't give a reason, did they? They just said, "Hey, we're not going to release these this year."
They didn't give when it's ready.
Yeah,
which means
Half-Life
we'll
3.
see something at E3.
Half-Life 3 will be out 2 weeks early on Steam Machines, guys. Nintendo GameCube controller Wii U adapter. I haven't seen this.
That was just announced today in a press conference for Smash Brothers, and is an accessory that plugs into your Wii U that lets you plug up to 4 GameCube controllers.
Is it an official Nintendo accessory?
Official Nintendo accessory.
Wow, that's crazy.
So people want to play Mario Kart and Smash Brothers with their GameCube controllers.
I kind of do.
You buy this accessory. Maybe it makes the Wii U that much more attractive.
This was built into the Wii. That annoys me that I have to buy an accessory for it for the Wii U.
Well, there's also no backward compatibility. And
I packed all those away. There's no GameCube backwards compatibility built into the Wii U. It's just Wii, right?
Yes.
Huh. That's weird. I'm surprised that they didn't just make a version of the GameCube controller that plugs into the Wiimote. Or a wireless native Wii U GameCube controller in the GameCube format.
I think that this is a make good with fans. People love Nintendo, and this totally reflects the Nintendo fans still have their GameCubes and still have the controllers.
Is the GameCube old enough for them to start mining nostalgia? Can they release Rogue Leader on Wii U and make money?
I mean, they're doing it with Zelda, so why not?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, Zelda will be the big test.
Well, that Zelda sold pretty well for a system that it's only shipped 4 or 5 million units. They're giving, if you buy Mario Kart in the first month and register for Club Nintendo, you get a free copy of Zelda Wind Waker HD, or there were a couple other games, but Pikmin 3 was Nintendo published stuff. Last thing on the list is WWDC is next week. Do you want to talk about the Nadella interview at Code? We skipped that. I didn't read that, so I don't know what happened. I don't know what he said. Any high points? He said he's not going to sell Xbox.
He says keeping Xbox exactly how it's going to be. He talked about wanting to get Microsoft building platforms for all devices, which is why Office was on iPad first, still not yet on Windows 8. And it makes it really clear that
Touch Office, you mean?
Touch Office, and still makes it very clear that Microsoft, even though they're a devices and service company, increasingly services company. Their strengths right now are in Azure, and Office. While they want to maintain Office, but he's going to continue with Bing, continue with Skype. You get the sense that he was not for the Nokia purchase. when Carl Swisher asked him, did you agree? Like, were you on board with the Nokia purchase? He said he wouldn't answer that, so which tells me he wasn't.
Right.
And it makes a lot of sense. I
Well-
mean, it was a ton of money spent to buy a hardware company when when Windows Phone doesn't need that type of flagship hardware.
I mean, honestly, at this
I mean, it
point,
could have been partners.
I would much rather see, like, I would rather see the Nexus version of the Windows Phone than, I mean, I guess that's what we're going to get. But I don't think they needed to buy Nokia to get the Nexus version of the Windows Phone.
Right.
I mean, the reason the thing about Nokia is they do make a lot of money selling feature phones. So if the goal is to sell smartphones at feature phone prices in the developing world, then they'll be all over that, I guess. I don't understand that. I don't understand why they bought Nokia in a lot of reasons. They wanted Elon Musk back, or Stephen Elop back. Should we talk about WWDC? It's next week, the Worldwide Developer Conference.
Yes.
Presumably, here is the list of things that we will presumably see. OS 10.10, OS 10, 10.10,
10.
probably called Napa or Sonoma or Geysers. I think didn't they give us a name already? No.
I don't think they gave us a name. Napa makes a lot of sense.
Napa makes a lot of sense. I think that's one of the big rumors. Next version of iOS 8. So this will be the first refresh of the newly redesigned, presumably, if last year was a cosmetic refresh, this year will be new features. I would love to see AirDrop from phones to Macs. That would make me really happy.
That will probably happen. I think that it will prime the OS ready for new aspect ratios or new pixel dimension screens.
Well, I mean, we'll know, because if there's APIs for multiple pixel dimensions, then
The big rumor is multitasking on iOS.
like actual multitasking?
Actual pane by pane, pane next to pane multitasking in iOS.
I don't understand what that means.
So you can have Safari in one pane.
Split
and,
windows. Do you think that's real?
I want to say yes for Apple apps. So it will be proprietary Apple apps first, and maybe third parties much later.
I don't think they're going to do that.
We'll
I
see.
think that's pretty crazy. So it is. Have you had a good multitasking experience on any device that is a tablet touch device?
You mean multi-screen experience?
Two devices, two apps running at the same time. The only thing that does it is the Surface, and then a couple of Android devices that did it really poorly.
Well, yeah, all the Samsung stuff does it
And
poorly. Yes.
Yes.
I've that doesn't mean I don't want it. Some version of that. Notification bar is a poor way to do it.
I would conceptually, I would much rather have my phone in one hand and a tablet in the other, and be able to use one as pass stuff directly from one to the other. Like that is a much better experience for me than trying to split an iPad screen somehow and have two different windows.
You know how Woz multitasks?
How does Woz multitask?
Multiple iPhones.
I can see that. So new iPhone. I mean, presumably they're not gonna hint that we'll see a larger, higher resolution iPhone this year at WWDC. But
Eddie Q did say at the Code Conference interview that the product releases for this year is the best he's seen in his 25 years at Apple.
that means the TV's coming clearly.
I expect surprises.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's live streamed, so you can watch it. The details are on apple.com. Any big predictions, Norm? You think multitasking is real? I don't. What do you think? Napa is the name for OS 10, 10, 10?
I don't know. I don't care about the name.
Okay. What do you think? What are we gonna see from OS 10? Are they gonna? I mean, we saw a little
Touch.
bit.
It could be touch.
No, they're not going to do. They could do new hardware next week because they haven't. They did the MacBook bump, the Air bump.
Air bump. Spec
we haven't
bump,
seen Retina bumps
but
yet.
we have not seen. Yes.
Do you think that they're going to I mean, OS 10 kind of got a little bit of a cosmetic redesign last year, but I mean, presumably we could see more. I kind of think they're pulling away from making it more iOS-y, though. It wouldn't surprise me if we see things like Launchpad and some of that stuff disappear. Anything else?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
WWDC.
Yeah.
It will be live streamed.
It's Tuesday
The
morning.
keynote is live streamed.
It's Tuesday morning. Is that right?
Yes, either Monday or
so.
Tuesday morning.
We need to block that in our calendar so that we don't get pulled into something else. I think that's it for news. Anything else? Last minute stuff you came up you want to talk about? Or are we good?
I think we're good.
TV Quest 2014 starts right now, Norm.
June 2nd is the keynote, so I believe that is actually Monday.
Monday morning. Yeah, it looks like it. I know you're in the market for a new TV.
No, I'm not.
Wait, what?
I just bought a new TV.
That was fast.
Yep.
Last time we talked about it for 2 months, and then you bought a new TV.
Nope. This time I went to a Best Buy and just bought it.
Wow. That's some
I had
fungible spending power.
I had a lot of Best Buy gift cards accumulated.
What did you buy? Why do you need a new TV? Is your Samsung on the fritz? Are you
No,
out?
I bought it for a bedroom.
Ooh, bedroom TV.
Bedroom TV. I've become a slob. I watch
Wow.
3 to 10 hours of critically acclaimed drama every night. No. I went to Best Buy. My parents needed a new TV, so I helped them pick one out
Okay.
real quick.
You were like, then they said, if you buy 2, we'll give you 5% off.
Well, if you sign up for the Best Buy credit card, then they'll give you 10% back in more gift cards.
More gift cards. That seems like a.
The person helping was moderately useful,
Okay.
helpful. And I originally went with the plan of helping my parents buy a plasma, and they ended up buying an LCD LED.
Okay.
Good for them. And they bought a 70-inch.
That's a big TV.
It's a big TV.
Which one did they get?
I believe it was a
Music?
Sharp 70-inch.
4 colors.
4 colors, last year's model on clearance.
That's good.
And I bought a Vizio. So I went to the wire cutter.
Didn't pay for marketing.
And I went to their best small TV pick, which is a 32-inch Vizio, and I just picked the same model but up to 40 inches.
Okay.
And got it at a fair price.
So what does it have? Does it have 3D?
No 3D.
Does it have smart apps?
Does have smart apps.
Ooh.
Here's are the things that I thought I didn't need that I eventually got. 3 things. Apps
Okay.
with built-in Wi-Fi, I guess, was a
So
thing
yes, you don't have to run an Ethernet cable or buy a dongle.
120 hertz.
120 hertz is good because then you don't have to do the 3.2 pull down on movies. The reason you have 120 hertz is because it is a shared frame rate between 60 hertz TV and 24 hertz movies. So you can play movies without having to do the 3.2 pull down, which what that means is every third frame it renders 2 frames.
Well, you
it
have
doubles
to
a
enable
frame or
the
something like
smooth
that.
motion for that to work.
No, you don't have to enable the smooth motion. You have to enable 24 hertz playback. It's different.
On the TV,
That
was not a menu option.
when it's on your Blu-ray player. So
So
you
it's on the
set
Blu-ray
24 hertz player for the Blu-ray
So
player, and then you'll
120
get
hertz.
normal frame rate.
And then also the LED dimming.
LED dimming's great.
No, it's not.
Really?
LED dimming is conceptually great. And
should
this
be
one
really
is
good.
Regional, like however many regions with smart dimming. So when it's these dark scenes or black on a screen, it'll dim. Very noticeable dimming. You can say, like, why is it? Oh, wait, something look weird. It's the whole thing dim.
Are you
wait,
playing
no,
it?
it's
Are
brighter.
you like watching in a glary bright room, or is it
Nope,
in
just
a
at night.
dark room late at night,
dark room
all
late
by
at night?
yourself?
And watching. I was watching Gladiator,
Yeah.
and it was just almost looked like flickering.
Oh,
because it was-
so LG does it badly, or Vuzix does it
Vizio.
badly.
Vizio.
Vizio does it badly.
does it badly.
That sucks.
I just turned that off. I don't care. This one had Wi-Fi, which is wonderful. Wi-Fi and it built into a TV. And the apps, I don't really care for Twitter and Facebook on this, but the remote control is a Netflix button and an Amazon instant streaming button, and I hit those and it works. And that works for me, and I don't have to buy a Roku.
Does it have HBO Go?
No, but I am going back to the Chromecast, so I plug the Chromecast in, and Chromecast works with HBO Go and Plex. So
From iPad or from
from laptop, from web.
Okay, that's not so bad. Interesting.
And I also bought a
Did you mount it on the wall?
No, I just put it on the stand.
Okay.
I don't like mounting.
What soundbar did you get?
I got the Vizio soundbar.
Oh.
This was the wire cutter recommendation also.
Does it hook on?
No, it's all. It's an optical cable. One optical cable. So anything that TV is supposed to play audio for
Okay.
pipes the soundbar, and has Bluetooth,
Huh.
which is good because I can
Oh, so you can like play from your phone.
From my phone. It gets really loud and clear.
Do you have a sub hooked up to it or no?
It does. The soundbar comes with a sub.
Okay.
And basically, the wire cutter said if you spend $100 on a soundbar, it's not going to be better than your TV. If you spend $250 on a soundbar,
It
then
will be better than your TV.
Very good. And this probably a soundbar I didn't need for the bedroom, but I wanted better than TV speakers.
Well, your bedroom's pretty big, but it's long, right?
Yeah. So I needed to be able to hear stuff.
Huh. Interesting.
So $250 soundbar, where I got a 2.1 soundbar, and I got it for like $180, which I thought was fair.
That's not bad. I am going to unfriend that person on Steam because they text me every single time that they see me online. I got a new router the other day.
I also got a new router the other day.
Which one did you get?
Hold on, I'm going to look it up on Amazon.
I got the Netgear 7000 and 7000, I
Let's
think.
discuss which routers we got.
So
my router was shit beforehand. Well, not shit, but it was getting bad, and I didn't do a SUS one beforehand.
This is the one I bought. I bought the Nighthawk. I have had
Netgear?
The Netgear.
I also got a Netgear.
The AC 1900 one.
Got the AC 1600 one.
I think I got the AC 7000. That's what I want to say I got. I'm going to go look over here.
Please, yes. Let's be very specific.
I got the R7000. It's the AC 1900.
Right. And I looked at that, and I got the R6250, and I talked to our friend Nathan, who just went through their wire cutter router reviews, and he said that in all their tests, the AC 1950 did not perform much better than the 1600.
So the reason I got the R7000, the AC 1900.
In terms of AC routers,
yes,
there are classes of them.
Yes.
There's on the high end, it's what is it called? It's
multi-band.
Well, they're all.
I don't think they're all 5 gigahertz. I think they probably all are now, but they don't have to be.
You have 1750 megabits per second on the high end, 1600 megabits per second, or on the low end, the 1200 megabits.
Yes.
And they're all dual band. They will all both do 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, but at different bit rates for each.
Yes.
I want the middle of the road.
The higher band doesn't penetrate as well.
Sure. So 5 gigahertz will never penetrate.
5 gigahertz is only good in like a 2-room, 3-room bubble.
And there are a lot of
router.
devices, like some laptops won't go do 5 gigahertz. Chromecast won't do 5 gigahertz.
Right.
And if you're connected with one device on 5 gigahertz and one device on 2.4, they're not necessarily going to connect well.
Hold on. What do you mean? They should.
For example, if my Chromecast is on 2.4,
yeah,
and my
it should.
phone's
Your
on 5,
router's not set up right if you're not able to talk to each other.
Sometimes they won't. I connect to the 2.4.
You need to turn on bridging for the Anyway,
middle of the road. 1600 megabits per second, which is split between 1300 megabits on the 5 gigahertz side and 300 on the 2.4 gigahertz side. The difference between what you got and what I got, you got the 1750 megabits per second, the R7000.
one extra antenna channel, right?
Is that your 2.4 is theoretically faster at 450 megabits as opposed to 300.
And since everything uses 2.4. The reason though that I bought the R7000 rather than the other one, which was I think $50 cheaper, right? Or thereabouts. Like mine was 200.
Yeah, mine was 140.
Okay. So the reason I bought that one is because I put DDWRT on them. Mm-hmm. And that R7000 is the one that the people who are building that branch of DDWRT right now are using as their reference design. So it is dead simple to get the software. Like when I used I used an ASUS AC router for a while. And I'm still using it as the main router in and out. I'm just using this router as an access point basically. Because the problem is my cable comes into the garage, not into the house. And I need and I had 2 access points for a long time. It's become the 2 access points with 5.4 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz is confusing to most of the devices that have multiple bands available to them. So I needed to simplify. So now I have 1 access point. It's in the middle of the house in my office. It's 5.4 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz and an AC only.
I think we both got ripped off because pricing now is so much cheaper.
I bought this 2 weeks ago.
I also bought this 2 weeks ago.
Oh. How much is it now? Okay, anyway.
Yes, anyway.
It's getting DDWRT on that ASUS router, the first gen AC router, was a nightmare. Getting it on this Netgear router, I just downloaded the appropriate firmware and did it from the web interface. I didn't have to use any kind of weird firmware updating utilities on a Windows machine that's directly plugged into the router or anything like that. It just fucking worked. And that to me was worth the extra $50.
All right, you got the Nighthawk.
Yeah, I got the Nighthawk.
You got the real fancy one.
It looks fucking cool. It's got white LEDs. It's not even blue.
I'm shaking my head right now.
It's not even blue. I paid more money for DWRT. That's the takeaway.
I'm fine without DWRT.
The thing I like about DWRT is that I can set up routing tables and I can VPN. I can set it up to VPN directly into the office, so I can make my network and the office network seem as one. I never ever use that.
Do you use your USB?
I know I have a home server.
I want to know who uses the USB on the router.
People who don't have home servers.
Just plug in a hard drive.
Plug in a hard drive, put your photos and shit over there. If I had a printer that wasn't a network printer, I would totally plug the printer in. So then you can turn a USB printer into a network printer if it has the appropriate drivers. If it has CUPS drivers.
Some printers have Wi-Fi.
Also,
some printers have Wi-Fi.
My printer has Wi-Fi and Ethernet. Yeah. I was, if you are looking for a DWRT router that is fast, because the problem with DWRT is most of the stable router, the routers that are supported by like the stable default branch are old. So you're looking at like early N routers, mid-range N routers, and you're not going to get anything that has AC or multiple antennas, so that you get the higher throughputs. This thing is stupid fast compared to my old router.
My thing is, range and speed, super fast.
Really
also,
good.
find your channels.
Yeah.
Go find your.
Yeah.
There are plenty of free phone apps that let you find isolated both 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz channels.
Insider and INSSIDER on iOS is great.
That will do it.
Maybe that's on Mac. I can't remember. But anyway, you can. There's all sorts of stuff that works on Windows and Mac laptops as well. So you can walk around the house, see where the strength is good and all that. It's been wonderful.
Wi-Fi Analyzer is what I use on Android.
Wi-Fi Analyzer is good as well. Let's see what else we got on this list. We got a lot of list of stuff to go down here. Nano Quad.
Yep.
You did this for show and tell this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's a small Nano Quad, 5-minute battery life, and I would recommend buying either replacement propellers or a prop guard for it, because the propellers pop off pretty easily.
I would after flying it for a little bit, I would get both. How much is it? It's like $50?
$40. Yeah,
that's pretty good. If you have a 3D printer, you can print the prop guard yourself. That'll be up tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. It's the mystery object. RX 100 Mark II.
A new camera.
Is this the
Sony small pocket camera?
I want to borrow this for a couple of days before you send it back because I want to try it. This is the $600.
This is a $700 one that they just announced the $800 follow up.
It's a fixed lens, no zoom.
Fixed lens zoom, and it's the successor to the one I reviewed 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I would not. $700 is a lot of money to spend on a compact camera.
That's true.
If you want, this is not anyone's first camera. If they want to buy something that will do everything,
here's what I would like. I have the mirrorless. I have it set up in a way that I'm very comfortable using it. I like using it a lot. It's very fun for me because it's all manual, and I like that. My wife is not super keen on all manual cameras, it turns out. I would like to get her something that is just a point and shoot that takes really nice pictures, but is relatively bozo-proof.
Your camera can be...
I have to spend money on lenses. Because all I have is the kit lens.
And she doesn't like turning the zoom?
Yeah, it's too big with the kit lens.
Well, the new ones have retractable.
Oh, really?
The new ones are retractable. And
it's a retractable kit lens?
Retractable kit lens, and you don't... it's a drive-by button for zoom, power zoom.
Oh.
So you don't twist the lens to zoom.
Will that work on my camera?
No.
Yeah, so okay. This doesn't solve anything.
Well, this is also a $700 camera.
That's true. But I mean, I was looking at buying a $700 lens for my camera. So
that's silly.
Yeah, well, right. Anyway, what do you think of it so far? You like it?
I think it's good. I think it's I would not use it as the only photos I would take at a wedding. Let's put it that way.
Well, what would you use it for? Putting it in your pocket to go to bars and have fun with friends?
Yes. And maybe going to a concert.
Okay.
Or maybe going skiing.
Okay. What if you're like going on a road trip and you're going with a bunch of friends?
If I'm going on a road trip, I would have my backpack with my real camera.
With your real camera? Okay.
I would take this out for lunch breaks, going off side trips.
Does it fit in your jacket pocket?
Yes.
Okay.
Depends on the jacket.
Okay, but It's a jacket pocket camera.
It is a jacket pocket camera.
Okay. I ordered a pair of glasses from Warby Parker yesterday, or earlier this week, I guess now.
Did you get the sample glasses?
I didn't get the sample glasses. I just went
get
for
the
it.
sample glasses.
No, I
They're only
figured
$100.
it's money back guarantee. If you don't like
Okay.
them, you send them back. But I thought I did the thing where you do the pupillary measurement, which I'd never done before.
IPD.
Yeah, you can do this.
Did
If
you use your Oculus measurement?
I had my Oculus measurement, 65 millimeters, I assume. But they also wanted the distance from the middle of my nose to either eye, because my prescription's kind of big.
Okay.
So have you done this since they had this new flash thing that goes up?
No.
So if
I
you
just know my settings and I just buy them.
Okay, so if you go to pd.warbyparker.com, you can do it. What they do is they get you in front of a computer with a webcam, and you hold up a credit card with the magnetic strip facing the camera in front of your nose. And then you stare straight at the lens and hit the capture button. And what they do is they use the magnetic stripe to measure scale. So you just kind of click on it, and it says, oh, yeah, I see the stripe here. This makes sense. And then you click on your pupils, and it just works out.
My credit cards are all fudged up because I've been sitting on them.
It's fine. It still works.
Still works? Okay.
Yeah, I was super interesting. So I'm going to plug it into Oculus next time I bust that when we get the dev kits in a couple of months, I guess, and see if that results in a better experience with the Oculus. I also spent some time in Adam's shop earlier this week. Did a carpentry project. We are starting a new series where we go into Adam's shop. He's graciously allowed us to come in and use his stuff. And that video will be up probably next week is the hope. And we'll do those more regularly if you guys like them. But it's fun. I learned a lot of cool stuff. I learned how to use the bandsaw. I'd never really used the bandsaw before. And Adam showed me the power of grinding like that disc
Sanding.
grinder. Yeah, in his office
Power
is
sanding.
fucking amazing. The thing is rad. We talk about it on next week's Still Entitled too. Pebble Steel.
There it goes. There it is.
I scratched it.
Fantastic.
Did you see? I thought it was supposed to be Gorilla Glass.
It is.
Well,
That's a pretty big scratch.
it is a fucking huge scratch.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done. It's much more useful than I expected, though. I have an app on there that will control my thermostat
Because you have a Nest.
because I have a Nest.
Did you get the recall? Did you send in your Nest
Protect?
Nest Protect?
I haven't gotten the recall notice yet.
Every Nest Protect is recalled.
Really?
Every single Nest Protect is recalled
Because of the wave thing?
because of the wave thing. You can either disable the firmware or get a full refund.
Oh, they disabled. They disabled the wave.
They announced the recall last
Are they
week.
Are they killing the product?
No. They're fixing in firmware or you get a full refund.
Well, I don't want to. I want them to just send me a new one and have me send that one back.
I think they'll do that also.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know if that feature is going to be there. Period.
I'm fine with that feature. Didn't work very well, so I'm fine with that feature not
Yes,
being there.
that feature could have killed you.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with not having that feature. No one died, right?
I don't think anyone died.
I think they discovered it in testing.
Yeah.
I tried to play Watch Dogs and spent an hour and a half on the phone with Ubisoft last night, who weren't able to help me because Uplay sucks balls. That's all I got. That's all I have to say about that. I think that's it for what we've been testing. Let's take a question or two and call it a show. This has been a long ass podcast. Back to questions. Untaking the pin out of questions.
Emails?
Well, but we do the other one.
Email.
'Cause it's, we don't do emails. We do
Emails?
No.
Questions.
Boom.
Yeah, you know how to get us. It's podcast@tested.com. Here is our second question. Darren from Edmonton, Alberta wants to know. He wants to know about a small laptop at home for his wife to use around the house. Mostly, she looks up recipes, checks email and Facebook. What are our opinions on Chrome OS and the Chromebooks? I haven't heard very much on these products in a while, and I'm wondering if Google is just letting them die or if they are actively supporting and developing for them.
Actually, yes.
They are
Latter,
actively supporting
latter.
and developing for them.
Yes.
I think a $250 Chromebook is not at all a bad thing to
At
use
this
for
point.
that right now.
At this point, yes.
What would you like?
Those are always the best sellers on Amazon. The Samsung Chromebooks.
The thing that Gina uses for that kind of stuff, like we have a desktop that we both share. Is like when we need to do real computer stuff. She has an old first gen of the Wedge design 11-inch MacBook that she uses as like the, hey, I need a computer in the kitchen, or just an iPad usually. Darren also says Hey, my parents brought some boxes of stuff for me. Inside, I found all of my old DOS PC games, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Space Quest, etc., as well as sealed copies of DOS 6.0 and Microsoft Money. Unfortunately, they're all on floppy disks, so none of these are very useful for me, and I don't think I'll keep them. It seems a shame to just throw them away, though. Do we know of an organization that might be interested in having these donated to preserve? I don't think that any of that stuff that you listed is rare enough that you would need to preserve it. Seems right?
Correct.
Yeah. I would play the hell out of some new HD TIE Fighter, though. Cornelia's says, hey, Tested Crew, out of necessity, my iPhone will not make it all the way till upgrade in September. I bought a Moto E on Amazon after hearing good things, and it is super cheap. My most commonly used iPhone apps are Tweetbot, Podcast, Downcast, and RSS Reader, REEDER. I'm curious as to what you guys feel are the best Android equivalents, as I don't believe any of those are available on Android. Also, are there any must-have Android apps that you think I should check out? Blah, blah, blah. That's it. Norm?
RSS Reader? I don't use RSS.
Okay, so nobody uses RSS. But assume that that's not a viable proposition.
I am not sure what the best RSS reader on Android is.
What's the best Twitter client on Android?
I use Twitter.
Twitter, official ass Twitter.
I use official Twitter. Keeps me off Twitter.
What about podcasts? We talked about this a few weeks ago. Pocket Casts?
Pocket Casts. Actually, if you look at the Android app landscape, it's doing real well in terms of just the number of quality apps and games. Yes, they still lag behind. A lot of games that come out for iOS, at least the ones that get really big mentions, are coming out on Android now, or already out. And I can just tell, like, looking at the icon design, it's all fantastic.
Well, in the App Store, the Android Play Marketplace, whatever the fuck it's called, Google Play, is not. It's not. In the old days, you would fire that up, and it would be like 6 keyboards and some home screen replacements, and then a bunch of like weird ass shit that no one should ever install that was free. And it seems like that stuff is either they're filtering out algorithmically, or it's just not making it to the top of the list anymore. So it seems much healthier. When I fire up the Nexus, I'm always pleasantly surprised.
There are some great Android apps.
I think Gone Home came out on Android the other day. That is an awesome game if you want to try it for tablets. It's kind of a choose your own adventure thing. One more question. This is... No, that was it. The other one I already answered. So that'll do it for us this week. Norman Chan, as always, thank you for podcasting. We'll be back next Thursday with another edition of This Is Only Test. Still entitled. It's on Tuesday.
Post WWDC.
Yeah. Next week we'll talk about WWDC. Maybe we can lure Gary in with Apple Talk. He's always into the Apple Talk. Jeremy will be here, I think. We booked him already. So, any plans this weekend? Anything exciting going on for you? Gonna go fly some quads?
I'm going to a conference.
Okay.
About city design.
Okay.
That's probably the most.
Is that the thing in Berkeley?
San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco. Alrighty. Norm's going to SimCity, the conference. I'm going to sit in my pajamas on the couch and drink beer and rest because I have not been at home in a long time on the weekend. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Today's outro comes from Steven Westervelt. Here it is. Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested.
I don't break it all because I don't want to hear the beep.
Norm accelerates too hard to avoid having to brake.
That was about automatic.
Indeed it was. See you guys.